It was an emergency hand. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you, Sarana. And now I would like to invite Professor Carl to, move ahead with his presentation and keep on inspiring us. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Pasang, and super nice to be with everybody. And each time I have a chance to connect with you all, I recognize more and more names and faces in the audience. So I think today I'm well over 50% in terms of recognizing people who are here and just appreciate our friendship and appreciate our collegiality over the years. And I'm particularly excited right now that you all are undertaking this research training and mentorship program. And before I begin presenting, I just wanted to say that by doing this, you're actually participating in a process of empowerment of research that started many years ago, and that there are many hundreds of Indigenous persons that have been part of workshopping and training just like this, and who have gone on to do incredible things. And so I appreciate everybody's willingness to be part of this community. It's actually a lot bigger than you think, and it's definitely a dream someday for me to begin to start uniting the many hundreds, even thousands of people that have again done just this type of workshopping process, of training process for empowering research. And so, what I'd like to present to you are some introductory concepts and slides that are going to be part of framing your experience. And I have developed this presentation to give some background about why I feel the way I do about Indigenous research. And so my topic then is, what does it mean to say research led by Indigenous people? And I want to focus on a strategy for restoring our leadership in research as Indigenous people. So, a little bit about me. I'm Potawatomi, which is a tribe in the United States and Canadian spheres, so in North America. And we have many different communities in the Potawatomi tribe. We're an original people of North America, and it's a huge part of why I do what I do to try to ensure that Potawatomi people, that we can control our own research and our own education. And I started off my research actually as a community organizer. And so I actually started off just like many of you did. I didn't have anything to begin with. I didn't think I would become like a professor or a professional researcher. I was a community organizer, I was an advocate, and I was concerned about climate change and how it was affecting Potawatomi and related people. And so, through that work as a community organizer, especially working with tribes on their climate change plans, their climate change response plans, I began to branch out. I began to branch out into research, into tribal or indigenous climate change education. I began to branch out into policy, and eventually became a professor and an educator, and focused on understanding climate change from indigenous knowledge and an indigenous perspective. And I'm also a mediator and a facilitator, and I work with a lot of tribes to support their ability to solve problems that they're encountering with the United States, with companies, with others that are blocking them from achieving their true potential in the area of climate change. And so that's a little bit about my background. And one of the organizations that Dr. Pasang and I have founded with some other colleagues is an organization called the Pathways Alliance for Change and Transformation. And it's actually an organization that specializes in fostering capacity or creating capacity for research led at the community level by Indigenous people. And so our organization is really growing very quickly, and we're beginning to develop our own strategies and methods for how to uplift and empower Indigenous people all over the world uh, to make sure that they can be restored in their leadership in research. So, our organization, the Pathways Alliance for Change and Transformation, or PACT, we've developed a strategy for research. So, for us, research led by Indigenous people can advance livelihoods, land tenure, climate mitigation, food sovereignty, and conservation. And research led by means that our communities have our own scholars, scholarly organizations, schools, and initiatives that uplift the knowledge and science that we can contribute uniquely to address global and local issues. And this relates to one theme that I'm going to talk about throughout the presentation, which is that there's really, in my opinion, only one difference between my community and my university when it comes to research. And that is that my university, the University of Michigan, knows how to promote and market and advertise the research that gets produced by the professors and the students and the staff. But my tribe, the Potawatomi, you know, uh, that's something that we should be doing with our own research. We should be promoting and amplifying and advertising it. And a huge part of our project is with PACT is to create those opportunities for Indigenous-led research, not only to be completed at the project level, but also that it receives the same amplification, the same promotion, the same advertisement, the same empowerment that the research that's done by universities do. And so that's something to keep in mind. And it's something that is really, really important with respect to how you design research. It's not just about the research you do, it's about how you take that research and make it matter to something that you care about. And for the research strategy, we've identified four different areas, which are things that you want to focus on when you're developing your own research projects. So one is brilliance, another is needle moving, another is scale, and another is transformation through reciprocity. And so, what brilliance refers to is the starting point for all Indigenous-led research, which is you, as an Indigenous person from a community, you are already brilliant. You already have the brilliance. Your people, your community are brilliant. You have the knowledge, you have the science, you have the ability to gain knowledge, and you have an ability to do it in ways that others cannot. And so, you always start with the fact that you're brilliant, and that the research that you can do is the most brilliant research that can be done on the topics that you know the most about. A second is what we call needle moving. And like if you're in a car or if you'd ever looked in a cockpit of an airplane, you see there's a gauge with a needle, and it tells you whether something's changing, right? Goes this way or that way. And that's what we want our research to do. We want our research to move the needle on a policy, on a law, on changing people's awareness, like public awareness. We want our research to be oriented to change, and we want to maximize the type of change that our research delivers. Another one is scale. Often, as Indigenous people, we are portrayed as actors that only act at a local level. But that's really not true. We have the potential to work at the national level, the regional level, the international level, the hemispheric level, the global level. And it's important that we design our research expecting that how we do the research will scale up the impacts that our work has. And then lastly is just the idea of transformation through reciprocity, which is that every time you do a research project and you do it in ways that are brilliant and they're needle moving and they scale up, that inspires other people. And you can share that knowledge with them. You can share your story with them, and that inspires people. And just thinking about, for example, when Dr. Pasang Dolma presented in New Zealand to a Maori audience, I heard from people that attended that presentation that they were very inspired by the work that CIPRED and others are doing in Nepal, the work at Kathmandu University, the other projects that Pasang had described. And that's a way of giving, it's a reciprocity, but it creates transformation because it motivates people to want to do the same and to want to work with you and to want to be part of a larger network. And so this is important to think about as well. And it makes research joyful to be in the position to do that. And so I'd like to walk through some of these four areas with some examples just from my own work. And so I want to offer some of my own experiences about how I learned about some of these concepts. So let's start with brilliance. So in the 1990s uh, and 2000s, many non-Indigenous researchers in the United States believed through their studies that the worst climate change impacts visited Indigenous people because, quote, we lived in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so that was the prevailing attitude about climate change when I started my career. While true that climate change is worse for many Indigenous people, the research indicated that we had to wait for nation states to do something about climate change so that the impacts were less severe on us. And that was a problem because it basically treated us like passive communities that had no agency to do anything about climate change. And I really thought that we could do better. So, starting in the late 1990s and 2000s, U.S. Indigenous persons organized research conferences. We organized our own studies on climate change. We published in science journals and participated in climate science. And so we launched an entire research movement, including many research studies that we did at the community level. And over the course of several decades, all of these combined research efforts, we actually overturned the prevailing research findings that I shared with you before with our own evidence. And what we were able to do is completely transform the way that people understand climate change. And it was no longer about Indigenous people living in the wrong place at the wrong time. In fact, there are at least three things that we've definitely changed. We showed that Indigenous knowledge has studied climate change for generations. It's a very old science of climate change, much older than climate science. So, how could we be in the wrong place at the wrong time with nothing further to say about that? In fact, we had everything to say about it because we knew exactly why those climate change impacts were affecting us more than others. We knew exactly what the causes were. And it was extremely ironic that the dominant society just thought that we were people that were living in the wrong place at the wrong time. A second issue is that we showed that land dispossession is what causes vulnerability to climate change. That climate change is not just about gases mixing in the atmosphere or about the fossil fuel sector, the reason why the fossil fuel sector became powerful enough to affect the climate is because in the United States, indigenous people were dispossessed of their land illegally, and the fossil fuel sector opened up and started doing business on those lands that were stolen. That's what accelerated climate change. And third, indigenous territorial rights are the solution, where indigenous peoples create and lead their own climate actions. And so instead of being at the wrong place at the wrong time, we are actually people that are at the forefront of solutions, not bad luck, solutions. And so these are some examples of assumptions that we overturned with our research. And because we were able to overturn some very problematic assumptions that were in science, and we were able to do it with publications, with conferences, with research projects, that we were able to start moving the needle. And so, in terms of the second area, needle moving, we had designed our research to move the needle in some of the following ways. And so, based on the research that we did, there was a United States congressional hearing, so the Congress, the Senate, on Indigenous people and climate. A second needle moving area was there was a dedicated federal program for tribal nations and climate change. In the major United States climate assessment, this is the third area, there's a chapter on Indigenous people, Indigenous knowledge that we created. We created financing by which tribal nations could fund their own programs in conservation, renewable energy, climate resilience, and food sovereignty. And the fifth area, we achieved major increases in professorships, tribal college programs, and trainings for climate scientists. So our research worked in some of these different ways, but it was designed to do so actually. And so, for example, why is it that we were able to get a hearing on Indigenous people and climate change with some of the most powerful people in the United States? Well, it's because we created publications that showed that climate change was affecting their own citizens, namely Indigenous people. But we also showed that those same citizens that were affected so severely had excellent ideas for how to change the policy. And again, we did that through the research. How did we get a dedicated federal program for tribes and climate change? Like literally in the United States, it's actually not just one, but I'm talking about one right now. There's one federal program that just focuses on supporting tribes and climate change. Well, one of the important things that our research showed is it showed exactly the type of support that the government could provide to empower Indigenous people's solutions to climate change. And so that research allowed us to convince elected officials to create a program that would provide that support. How did we get a chapter in the U.S. National Climate Assessment and resources for a separate Indigenous-led climate assessment? How did we do this? Well, we started getting involved in the climate assessments. And at first, there might be just like one Indigenous author, but over time, by maintaining involvement in those assessments, we were able to start influencing how those assessments were organized. And so we began to demonstrate that Indigenous knowledge could fill in key areas that were gaps in those assessments. But then Indigenous knowledge was also significant enough that it should have its own assessment that is run by Indigenous scholars. And so again, our research movement was able to convince people that we had an important role in the national level assessments of climate change. How did our research demonstrate that funding was needed to support tribal projects. We produced research that showed that there were major funding deficits. We had research that showed that if Indigenous people could control their own energy systems, that they could have renewable energy. And so that created the evidence needed to support funding opportunities. And because the research was being disseminated and marketed and advertised, all of a sudden, presidents of universities started creating professorships for Indigenous climate change specialists. So now each year there's new professorships created, like the actual professorship is devoted to Indigenous climate change studies. And so all of these types of impacts, when you think about them all together, they started to really support some of the solutions that we needed to eventually achieve scale. And in 2020, our research movement achieved a powerful national scale. And within the Biden administration in the US, our actual research led to the securing of 20 billion in tribal energy loan guarantees for renewable energy, 300 million US dollars for pollution reduction grants, 150 million for tribal electrification, which, as you know, is a pathway to renewable energy, 225 million for climate resilience, 225 million for high efficiency uh, home upgrades. We had another bill that we were able to influence that 13 billion for tribal nations, including for climate adaptation and resilience, energy and grid resilience, orphaned well plugging, and clean water. And so we achieved scale. And even though, our political situation in the United States has changed drastically, and we face a lot of opposition. Many of our projects that were funded in the slide before, they continue on. The Homa Nation, which is an Indigenous people, still is building a $56 million tribally led climate resilience hub. It's not been challenged. The Yurok tribe is just succeeded in a major dam removal and land return for salmon conservation and forestry. There's still $50 million International Science Foundation for Indigenous Knowledge Centers. And so many of our victories, they continue. And that's because they're strongly justified by our research and by publications that we did over the course of now 3 to 4 decades. And so when we talk about this work, what I found is that whenever we gift each other the lessons of our successes, we further activate one another and the communities that we come from. So I hope that some of what I shared for you, it gets you thinking about the types of goals that your own research has and the brilliance of your own communities. And thinking, for example, about the work that CIPRED and Dr. Pasang did with respect to the Shagya Customary institution and the link between the research and the policy change. Those are examples that inspire me. And I think when we share with each other about how our research matters, that it helps bring that transformative process. And what I think is important about our sharing, and we gift each other our stories about our research projects, is that we focus on how our brilliance started at the community level. We first build capacity by pursuing the projects that matter most to us at the community level. And I think that's always the most powerful story, how each of us, we started by working on projects that mattered to our communities. We didn't work on something that mattered to somebody else. We started working on what matters to us. And then when all of us combine the different projects, then we scale up together. We scale up together. as we share our capacity to address overlapping themes. And it's interesting with tribal nations in the United States, each tribe is different, but when each person worked at the community level, developed research, then we were able to combine them into a whole set of themes. But what's interesting is that I'm finding now in working with you all that even though we're also really different, the United States and Nepal, when we start talking about things like climate change and the different research projects we're doing, we start talking about customary institutions, we have a lot to talk about. And all of that can be put together and that we can begin to engage in even larger transformation. But we first have to exchange those gifts by telling our story about the work that we do. And so my big vision for Indigenous-led research is this. Imagine every Indigenous people having their own scholarly initiatives, research programs, and schools. Imagine the scale of that research footprint on advancing solutions to livelihoods, land tenure, climate mitigation, food sovereignty and conservation, and uplifting future generations. And imagine that we amplify our research locally, regionally, and globally in the same ways, or better, that major research universities do. And so when each of you participates in developing your project, if you're a mentor, whoever you are in the process that you're about to undertake, you're right at that beginning phase where you're developing new ideas, you're developing new projects, but aim high. Think about the scale, think about the brilliance, and remember that it's you that are in the best position to develop creative knowledge about your own community. You're in the best position to do that. And even if you are somebody that's working with a different community, or maybe CIPRED or Kathmandu University has placed you to work on a community based project in a community that you're not from, but it's the brilliance of that community. That's what you're leading with. You're not leading with what, somebody else told you is what you should focus on in that community. You're focusing on the brilliance of that community. And I can guarantee you, like we found with our Indigenous research on climate, that we've had so much impact when we took all of our ideas, even ideas. I mean, some of the contributions I shared with you earlier, 25 years ago, when I told scientists that that's what I thought about topics, they didn't believe it. Um, and so that was a problem on their part. But when it happens, when somebody doesn't believe you, you think you're the problem. And that's what we're always being told as Indigenous people. But now we have the proof that it's not true, and our brilliance is what should lead, and to never give up on our brilliance, and to never give up on the fact that we can achieve scale and transformation, and we can achieve a movement with the research that we do. And so, as you walk through the different steps of the process that you're about to be part of, and you're doing things like developing research questions, developing methods, developing a plan for how you're going to have the most impact, for how you're going to move the needle. Really come back to these core goals that we have, that this is a movement and it's about brilliance. It's about changing laws, changing policies. It's about changing the public's understanding. Hold fast to these ideas and these goals. And I think you'll find that it's going to be a really joyful process. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be very joyful. And I really look forward to welcoming you at some point in the future to the broader community of people that are doing the exact same thing and you'd benefit from being in solidarity with. So thanks for the chance to share some opening remarks with you all. I'd love to answer any questions that you have or hear any comments or feedback that you have.
Um, let's give a Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Carl Whyte, for your excellent presentations and keep on inspiring how we can explore our own the brilliance, the good aspects, the treasure we have hidden within us and also within our communities. And based on that, what we can move on with the needle moving, exploring the different angles. That's something that we really want to bring changes through awareness, building capacity through different ways out, and scaling up our values, passions, how we can design, how we can build on through the different layers of research, our work on the ground, and bringing the transformative changes through the principle of the reciprocity. And this has really added value that we are not nothing, we have something that we can build on and we can move on. We have some time, uh, and I also would like to welcome Dr. Sri Kumar Maharjan. I see you in the face. Yeah, maybe I'll give after this one, I will give you a floor for your introductions. But in the meantime, I would like to open the floor for I think we have 10 to 15 minutes. Let's have I would like to request my colleague Preeti and Sarana to check if I missed any hands out, up hands. Please raise your hands. And if anybody have a questions, we would like to have more questions. And this is a rare opportunity. Um, okay, so any questions? No questions? Okay, okay. So all are
Wait,
happy.
Pasang, you promised me seven
So I'm really surprised. Your presentation was crystal clean, I believe, and so I hope all the the mentors that we have assigned for us will be. I hope Kyle will. I'll use your guidelines for this role of instructor, and then I will be able to share with our and the mentors, and then we could follow up accordingly. If there's no any questions, I have a question, Carl, for you. Um, I have one questions. I think there's one question already. So let's give the floor to others. I think there are also some questions. Can you please? There looks like there's a questions in the one. Okay.
There are two questions.
Yeah. Can you please read out Sarana? Otherwise, I have also question. Yeah.
Ma'am, the first question is from Sajan Chaudhary ji. How can we get more access to the resources regarding Indigenous research?
The
Great.
second question. The second question you can also
Should
read.
I
No.
also? Okay. The second question is from Monkey Sir from CIPRED. Many thanks to Professor Dr. Kyle Whyte for an insightful presentation. So his question is, as you highlighted the massive scaling of federal funds under the Biden administration. As these historic large scale resources flow in, what is the biggest challenge tribal nations face in navigating federal bureaucracy while maintaining their true community led sovereignty?
Okay, so in the meantime, if you have any question, please keep on writing or you can raise your hands. And now I'll give the floor to Professor Carl to respond these questions. Yeah, and we'll wait if there is any other remaining questions. Thank you.
Great. So regarding the question about access to resources, there are a lot of resources, and what I'm recommending to all of you is that you first develop your research projects through this collaborative process that you're about to undertake. And then we can figure out what resources will best support the needs of that particular project. So that's one part of it. But another part of it is that I do have, and I need to check in with Sharana and Preeti and Dr. Pasang about how much we may have exchanged in the past. But there are some great articles and books and other resources uh, that we can continue to uplift. So again, I'll talk to the colleagues at CIPRED about what we may or may not have done before, and then we can consider putting something together. So great question. I'll move to the second question. So for the second question, that is why actually research is important. Like one of the things that I think we have examples to show is there are research projects that show how a tribe or a community can, say, manage a large infrastructure project, but do so in a way that's consistent with its spirituality and its culture. And what we've learned is that there is a really important difference. There's a difference between having a project imposed on you, like say for forest carbon credits, like somebody imposes a scheme on you and there's a consent process and you have a chance to give your own voice or your own perspective on it. That's one scenario. But another scenario is just to lay out in front of somebody, this is how the financial system works. What do you think about that? And that way, somebody that approaches it with their own spirituality, with their own culture, with their own community values, they don't necessarily say that that's a terrible system. They usually have very creative ideas about how to redesign it. And those are all ideas we can actually do research on. And it does sound kind of simple, but like really, that's actually a pretty profound difference because most of where we lose ourselves is because we're always reacting to things that are imposed on us. But what happens if we just get to be the people that mold the clay and all the interesting ideas that we can have? And so I think that's the secret to the question that you have. And I know that in Nepal, something like federal funding is not necessarily something that is going to happen in any time soon, but it's a similar with the philanthropy, right? That is potentially at stake with some of the other types of investments for Indigenous people in Nepal that are potentially there. So there is that opportunity for that windfall, and but also for some of the same challenges. Great questions.
Okay, I don't see any hands, but I have one questions, Dr. Carl. Thank you so much for responding all two questions so far. If there is any questions, please keep on writing. I have one questions in the meantime, Professor Carl. So we understand that you have already played the mentor role among the instructors, including myself, in Brazil, especially leading the indigenous-led research in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and already coming up with the proposals to start working on this research, and which we really aim for presentation in our next conference in Nepal. And so we are also trying to follow your guidance, especially the guidelines that you have developed among our mentors. Especially here, we are mentors here, Dr. Sri, Dr. Indramani Rai, Dr. Pasang Sherpa, and myself. I would like to also know that what would be how I am very familiar because I was there, I was, working very closely with you, but for our other mentors, especially three mentors, instructor or facilitator, how can they follow your, what is the best way of following your guidelines, no, on the indigenous-led resource? And I know that almost all the proposals that come up from the final proposals that selected out of 40 may not be necessary from indigenous lens. But we would like to reshape, with the help of our mentors, we would like to reshape that proposal into based on the brilliance, needle moving, skill, transparency, and through reciprocity, under these guidelines, so that we'll have kind of a similarity in the research project that we'll publish. So I would like to hear your suggestion, guidance for the research mentors, so that they can guide in line with the aspiration that touched upon by your guidelines that you have developed, and that with your permission, would like to share among our mentors also.
Okay, great. And I see there's
Yeah.
Indrani asked a related question
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I have
Okay.
exactly the
Maybe Indra,
similar issue
Dr.
only.
Indra, you can also. So, Dr. Indra Rai, could you please also share your experience on mentoring? Oh, that is the same one that we touched upon. How
Yeah.
can you
yeah.
supervise a mentor? Okay, that is the one. Then the other one is thank you for the insightful presentation. So this will be the last questions. Thank you.
So possibly we have novice kind of researchers, okay, beginner researchers, beginner indigenous researchers. So could you please share your own experiences on how you mentor those novice researchers meaningfully? Yeah. So, but actually, the concepts that you shared, this important concepts, for example, those brilliance and needle moving and skill and reciprocal transformations, which are very insightful ideas that we got. Yeah, of course. But just was
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we just
Thank you,
engage
Doctor.
in
Yeah.
mentoring. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you,
please.
thank you, and also, Dr. Kyle, we have also not necessarily all indigenous peoples who got the grants. There are also one or two from not indigenous people. But we in the classroom we also want to bring not just only indigenous people but also non-indigenous people who would open up their worldviews, to write these stories, write their experience. So also any thought on that part also, how can we build on that perspective
Sure.
and in solidarity with indigenous people? Thank you. Over to you,
Great.
Dr. Kyle.
Great. Absolutely. So my approach to actually would respond to all of your questions is the mentorship and the pedagogical process um, needs to be about dialogue instead of about teaching, if that makes sense. So the prompts that I design um, in our culture as Potawatomi or Anishinaabe people, we actually have a theory of knowledge, which is that in any situation that you're in, who has the knowledge? Well, it's everybody that's in the situation. There's not like one person that has like more knowledge than others. Everybody has knowledge, but the person that's the expert is somebody that knows how to facilitate and bring out the knowledge. And so, what I really focus on in mentoring novice researchers, and I've trained researchers that are students, but I've also trained researchers that aren't affiliated with any university. They're community members that simply want to do research and change a situation. Is I'm always asking them questions and engaged in a dialogue with them. And so often I start, like for example, asking what's brilliant about your community? What's your research question? That is, what are you curious about? And so I always get people to talk because I want to build their confidence. Um, because often people think that the ability to do creative research is a function of how many credentials you have. And interestingly, that's not actually true. And I'm not dismissing credentials because I know Germani and I are both professors, so I'm not dismissing that. What I am saying is that it shouldn't be a barrier to somebody being allowed to share their ideas freely and to receive feedback. And so I really try to level the playing field and for a novice researcher to really get them to focus on the fact that they have the power. Now, obviously, people need to be humble about their need to learn more about how to do research. So that humility is important. But I think often for novice researchers, we need to start with building their confidence in their own creativity, which will get them to be better having an exchange and to talking through challenges with you. So I have a lot more to say about that, but obviously, but that's one thing. And that's why the program that I've sketched is one that focuses on prompts and questions as opposed to lectures. Um, Now, in terms of uh, it- so, and there's something I want to share with you all as well in a second. But Pasang, can you it just lost my mind because it's late at night. But there was another topic you'd mentioned. I wanted to. Can you just jog my memory quickly about a couple of the things that you mentioned?
Yeah. Yeah, the one you have already mentioned. The other one is, in my class also, it's not necessarily all indigenous people, but there are
Oh,
also
right. Yep. Yep. I
non-indigenous
got it.
people.
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Yep. Great. So that actually is um the process that I've designed, so I did because it is CIPRED, I oriented my presentation around Indigenous people, but the principles that I'm sharing are not exclusive to Indigenous people. And actually, when I started 20 years ago doing these workshops, the teams of participants that came were a mix of Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. And what I think is interesting, right, is that say you have different research projects, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, and you say, okay, what's brilliant about the people that are going to be affected by the research? Well, that's a very neutral question. You know what I mean? It's not a question where, you ask somebody about being Indigenous, and that's a question that if people try to answer that, can create conflict or create negative emotions. But if you just ask what's brilliant about it, and it gives everybody a chance to comment, including somebody uh, saying that they don't know. And so the way I designed the prompts, it's important in these contexts to design prompts that when people are asked to respond to something, it is stated in a way where the people that do legitimately know are able to share their expertise, but also the people that don't know, they don't feel ashamed of not knowing, and they're able to admit that. And so I think that it's important, there's an expression in English to do things in a way that disarms people. By disarming it, it makes people not defensive. And I think that's the important way of doing it. And by the way, I think that for a lot of non-Indigenous people, they will find this approach to doing research and to workshopping research to be quite enjoyable and to bring them back to the basics. And what I want to just show you, and this is very early information, but I wanted to show you something that I've been drafting about, and I can send this to you all, of course, but I'm not necessarily done with it, about how to understand like what comes next. And I designed this based on the workshop we had in Brazil. Um, but let me just share super quickly, and then I will let you all go. Um, so um, I haven't put the arrows into this yet, but so here is the workshop, and again, you guys are about to do your own your own workshop, right? And then so this is the outcome of the workshop. So for this one, it was the slide presentation. Um, but what I started mapping out is that, okay, in this single box here, you have the outcome of your workshop, then what happens next? And so I sketched out a number of things. So the first step is you don't have to do all of these things, just whichever ones you want. Grant proposals, outreach to other researchers, organize a workshop, refine the research proposal. You implement the research, you do a assessment of your resources to be able to complete it. And then once you complete the project, I sketched all these different outcomes that you can engage in, from writing a book to building a new educational program. And then, this is a formula that you can just keep doing over and over and over again. And so I don't want to obviously go through the details, but I wanted to show you that there's a whole set of next steps and a whole set of different topics for then how to take your initial work and how to expand it. And so I'm developing some seminars and some webinars to talk about each one of these areas. So anyways, those are a little bit about the plans, and sorry that the time was brief, because I have a lot to say about all of your questions and a lot to talk about, but I think I'll move to the sidelines and wish you well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Carl Whyte, for all your responding all the questions and quenching our thirst on Indigenous-led research. We'll definitely continue, working with you in the future also. And we really, really would like to thank you. I know it's a very late night in the US, but we are really, really honored to have you, and inspiring, and also mentoring our mentors. Yeah. And so I would like to request for another 1 or 2 minutes to stay behind. So we would like to take a group picture. In the meantime, I would like to request all friends to open your camera. And in the meantime, I would like to request Dr. Sri Kumar, you missed the introduction session. Maybe you could introduce yourself, because you will be also assigned a few students who have got the research grants from CIPRED for Indigenous-led research. So let's have a quick, introduction and your background, and then we'll have a group pictures. I would like to request my colleagues to ready for the pictures, move ahead with the pictures. So all the friends are requested to camera on to show your beautiful face, handsome face, that to be captured in our, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Carl Whyte, Professor Carl Whyte, for your wonderful, insightful presentation. Sorry for being late, but I got some of the later slides, and hopefully you will share those slides, so it will be beneficial for everyone. So my name is Sri Kumar Mahajan. I work with indigenous peoples for more than 2 decades, and I completed my PhD in climate change, especially focusing on indigenous people's practices and policies. So that my research was particularly focusing on how indigenous knowledge and practices are actually integrated in the policies. So it's a dialogue between indigenous peoples and the policies, especially in 2 different valleys of Nepal. One is Deokhari Valley, which is in the western Nepal, and one is in Mardi Valley. I completed my PhD in 2020 from Hiroshima University, and I have been engaging with indigenous-led financing philanthropy now for particularly for Asia. So Indigenous Peoples of Asia Solidarity Fund is the regional funding mechanism that we have started since 2022. So I've been engaging there, and at the same time I have been engaging with other research, especially focusing on rural livelihood, climate change, resilience, and at the same time indigenous knowledge and indigenous practices. It's too late, but I have actually one question which I thought after
I think,
my
we can address the questions later, because we are running out of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Thank you so much.
I just wanted to bring that so that
Yeah.
so Carl Whyte also think of, like, which is very interesting, the debate on indigenous knowledge and data sovereignty. So, which is very important for us to also kind of think about it. So just to bring that issue at the moment, no need to respond at the moment. So indigenous data sovereignty it has been a kind of hot debate discussing nowadays, and in Asia, the
Okay,
FCI
I
Indigenous
think we are run
Act.
out of time.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sri. I'm so sorry I have to cut down now because
Yeah, sure.
we are trying to stick with the time because of other meetings right after this one. I really appreciate for your presence, and Dr. Sri Kumar Maharjan is also friend of CIPRED. So I really appreciate for giving your priority. I know you just become a father, and would like to congratulate once more, and additional responsibility, and we understand why we are a bit delayed. I
Thank
also,
you.
yeah, I also request Rusa, Supriya, Indu, if possible, to put your camera on so that you can take last pictures. Yeah, thank you, Rusa. Let's have your beautiful face.
And Sarita ma'am as well.
Okay,
Please turn your
Sarita,
camera
yeah,
on.
because this is our historical picture. Okay, okay, 1, 2, 3, yeah?
1, 2, 3. Smile.
Smile. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Sarana, for taking the pictures, and thank you so much, Dr. Kal, for making your time availability despite the late hours in the USA. Really, really appreciate. We'll keep on touch with you, and we request to keep on inspiring us to in the this momentum. So thank you so much. Okay, so bye bye. Thank you. So we have a short
Okay.
break now. It's already run out of time, but let's take a 5 minutes break, if anything, and then right after 5 minutes, we'll start. Yeah. Okay, so now we are going to begin our next session, next presentation. Our Nepalima bolung ki no, we have a few friends, interns from University of Michigan. We have a limited Nepali. So, Pasang sir, would you like to share in Nepali or English?
नेपालीमा गरौँला.
Oh, okay. So, Sarana or Preeti, can you also give a kind of summary translation either in the chat or in the WhatsApp to Cynthia? Okay, Sarana.
Sure,
So, would
ma'am.
you like to do it in a WhatsApp or in a chat?
I think I can do in WhatsApp.
Okay, so you
It
keep
will be
on
distracting.
for Priya. Hi, Priya. Is it okay with you in Nepali, or you will also need translation? Otherwise, hi, Priya.
Nepali is fine for me.
Nepali, fine. You are fine. Okay. So for Cynthia, if you could make a translation in WhatsApp, that would be great. I will moderate in English and Pasang sir will present in Nepali. So for the substance of the presentation, kindly also provide in WhatsApp. Okay. And Priya is okay with her Nepali. So this is okay. So now we are already 10 minutes behind our schedule, but so that's why we had to squeeze our 15 minutes break to 5 minutes, but we'll try to incorporate it by the end. And if we move to 15 minutes delay, I hope you will allow me that one, because we try to meet all the we might try to meet all the presentation on time. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so with this one, I would like to introduce Dr. Pasang Sherpa. He's the associate professor in the Tribhuvan University in the Center Department. He's the HOD, head of Department of Sociology, and he's wearing different hats. He's also the chairperson of CIPRED, and he just recently returned back with the international conference on the research methodology, where he was requested to make a presentation on the the research ethics, also research methodology, and we'll definitely get insight from that. And apart from that one, he has also been keeping the momentum that how can we have indigenous study program in Tribhuvan University. And I would like to congratulate Dr. Pasang that Tribhuvan University also adopted the curricula for indigenous study in the from the coming course. So with this one also, we open up the research grants for also from the Tribhuvan University. So with this one, and he has been working, he has a different, numerous articles, national, internationals, and also different books on the indigenous communities and also on Sherpas. And we will definitely be enriched with your presentation. And especially, I will be requesting Dr. Pasang to share about the research ethics code of conducts based on your experience on the research methodology. So with this one, I would like to welcome Dr. Pasang to make your presentation for half an hour, and we'll have 15 minutes for question and answers, or 15 or 10 minutes, if you can squeeze even into 10, if not, if there's not many questions. So, okay, so over to you, Dr. Pasang, for your presentation. Please go ahead. Thank you for half an hour.
Okay, thank you. 9:27 भयो हैन 9:27 27 9:27 चाहिँ 10 बजीसम्म हो. Is it up to 10 or yeah.
Yes, sir.
सबैजनालाई फेरि पनि ल स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु. गुड मर्निङ. मैले सरस्वती तपाईँको लिस्ट हेरेको थिएँ, तपाईँहरू जतिजना रिसर्च ग्रान्ट पाउनेहरूको मेजोरिटी तपाईँको एमआइटीको विद्यार्थीहरू हुनुहुँदो रहेछ. केयुबाट मैले यसो हेर्दाखेरि 7 जना हुनुहुँदो रहेछ, अनि टियुबाट पनि 3 जना हुनुहुँदो रहेछ. त्यसैले खुसी लाग्यो. यसपालि टियुको पनि केयुको पनि दुईटा टिमहरू सँगसँगै काम गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ. र मैले यसो हेर्दाखेरि अब एकजना हाम्रो चाहिँ दवाडीजी हुनुहुँदो रहेछ. को भयो दवाडीजी? आश्रय दवाडी भनेको को हुनुहुन्छ? हेलो, दवाडीजी छ हुनुहुन्छ कि हुनुहुन्न?
हेलो सर, हजुर म छु सर, यहीँ छु।
तपाईँ कुन डिपार्टमेन्ट हो भन्नुहोस् त?
मेरो त यस्तो सर, म एन्थ्रोपोलोजी डिपार्टमेन्ट हो मेरो डिपार्टमेन्ट, तर त्रिचन्द्र क्याम्पस हो सर मेरो।
ल ल ल, हस् हस्, ल ल, ठिक
हस्
छ।
हस्।
मैले कुन डिपार्टमेन्ट गर्छु, ल हाम्रो एकजना मात्रै नन आइपिज हुनुहुँदो रहेछ
हजुर सर, हजुर।
यहाँ। फेरि 9जना आइपिज नै हुनुहुन्छ, त्यस कारणले हामी अब इन्डिजिनियस पिपुल्स भित्रबाट पनि विभिन्न तपाईँको ठाउँबाट आछौँ। यहाँ विभिन्न ब्याकग्राउन्डका जातको हिसाबले, धर्मको हिसाबले, क्षेत्रको हिसाबले फरक फरक ठाउँबाट छौँ। त्यस कारण हाम्रो आफ्नै खालको कल्चर पनि हाम्रो सबैजनाको फरक फरक नै हुने भयो।
हजुर
सँगसँगै हाम्रो कन्टेक्स्ट पनि हाम्रो स्वाभाविक रूपमा फरक हुने भयो। त्यस कारणले गर्दाखेरि अब हामीले यो रिसर्चको एथिक्सको सम्बन्धमा कुरा गर्दाखेरि मैले अलिकति तपाईँलाई त्यही कारणले यो हामी किन सबैमा फरक फरक छौँ र हाम्रो फरक हुने बित्तिकै हाम्रो कल्चर, हाम्रो भ्याल्युज, हाम्रो बिलिफ्सहरू फरक हुने बित्तिकै हाम्रो तपाईँको वर्ल्ड भ्युज पनि कसरी फरक हुन्छ र हामीले समाजलाई हेर्दाखेरि बुझ्दाखेरि कसरी हेर्ने भन्ने खालको कुरामा पनि हामी अलिकति त्यसमा फोकस गरौँला। अब हामीले धेरै जसो युनिभर्सिटीमा पढ्ने विद्यार्थी साथीहरू ले युनिभर्सिटीमा पढाउने जुन कोर्स छ, रिसर्च मेथोडोलोजीमा हाम्रो रिसर्चको एथिक्स के हुने भन्ने खालको कुरा त सबैजनालाई थाहा छ। हामीले त्यो सर्टेन खालको स्ट्यान्डर्ड हामीले फलो गर्नै पर्छ, सर्टेन खालको कोड अफ कन्डक्ट बनाएकै हुन्छ होइन। तर पनि आज हामीले छलफल गर्ने चाहिँ त्यो कोड अफ कन्डक्टमा सीमित रहने कि त्योभन्दा हामी बाहिर जाने भन्ने खालको कुरामा चाहिँ अलिकति हामी छलफल गर्ने, मैले त्यसमा अलिकति फोकस गर्छु भन्ने लागेको छ। अब तपाईँ हामी धेरैजनालाई थाहा छ, हामीले हेर्ने भनेको हिजोको दिनमा जहिले पनि हामीले रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि पोजिटिभिजमबाट जानुपर्छ होइन। यो पोजिटिभिस्ट प्याराडाइमबाट हेर्नुपर्छ भनेर जहिले पनि हामीले पढाइराखेको सिकिराखेको त्यही नै हो। तर आज चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ रिसर्च वास्तवमा हामीले अब्जेक्टिभली रिसर्च गर्नु सकिन्छ कि सकिँदैन होइन। अब्जेक्टिभली मात्रै हेर्ने हो कि त्योभन्दा फरक ढङ्गले पनि हेर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने खालको प्याराडाइमको कुरा आज हामी त्यसमा अलिकति गर्छौँ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि के हुनसक्छ भन्दाखेरि अब यो एमआइटीमा पढ्ने साथीहरूलाई त धेरै कुराहरू पढि पनि सक्नु भएको छ, धेरै कुरा थाहा छ, त्यस कारणले उहाँलाई यो नयाँ नहुनसक्छ। तर पनि अब टियुमा पढ्ने विद्यार्थीहरू जहाँ चाहिँ यसको बारेमा खासै पढाइ पनि हुँदैन, त्यसको बारेमा धेरै थाहा पनि कम हुने भएको कारणले गर्दाखेरि उहाँहरूलाई केही नयाँ हुनसक्छ। त्यस कारणले पछाडि अब रिसर्चको बेलामा तपाईँले एकअर्काको बिचमा सेयरिङ गर्नु सक्नुहुन्छ। त्यस कारणले अब अहिलेको प्याराडाइम भनेको, रिसर्चको प्याराडाइम भनेको यो पोजिटिभिजमबाट चाहिँ बिस्तारै तपाईँको के छ भन्दाखेरि मोर अनि हाम्रो इन्ट्रेक्सनतिर जाने, अनि त्यस पछाडि अलिकति चाहिँ तपाईँको इन्डिजिनस प्याराडाइमबाट चाहिँ कसरी रिसर्च गर्ने भन्ने खालको कुरामा चाहिँ अहिले गइरहेको अवस्था छ होइन। त्यस कारणले गर्दाखेरि अब मैले त्यसमा अलिकति त्यसमा छुन्छु भन्ने लाग्छ। र तपाईँको यहाँ सबैजनाको हेर्दाखेरि तपाईँहरूको रिसर्च भनेको धेरै जसो इन्डिजिनस कम्युनिटीमै छ। त्यस कारणले भोलि तपाईँ के गर्नुहुन्छ भन्दाखेरि रिसर्च गर्न जाँदाखेरि त हाम्रो सर्टेन इन्डिजिनस कम्युनिटीमा जानुहुन्छ, अनि त्यो कमिटीमा गएर रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि अब हामीले अहिले पछाडि समयको प्याराडाइम सिफ्ट भनेको चाहिँ हिजो हामीले जहिले पनि रिसर्च चाहिँ आदिवासीमाथि गर्ने, अन द इन्डिजिनियस पिपुल, अन दि सर्टेन कम्युनिटिज भनेर हामी भनिरहेका थियौँ। तर अब आज हामीले अहिलेको डिबेट भनेको, डिस्कोर्स भनेको र प्याराडाइम सिफ्ट भनेको चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि अन होइन, अब चाहिँ तपाईँको विथ भनेर हामीले जानुपर्छ, त्यसरी गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने खालको आएको छ। त्यस कारणले अब हाम्रो सिप्रेडले पनि अहिले सिप्रेडले गरिराखेको हाम्रो रिसर्चको प्याराडाइम पनि त्यही नै हो। हामीले इन्डिजिनियस पिपलको इस्युमा काम गर्दाखेरि जहिले पनि हामीले अन भनेर उनीहरूमाथि गर्दैनौँ। उनीहरूमाथि रिसर्च गर्ने होइन कि हामीले के छैन, उनीहरूसँग सँगसँगै तपाईँको हामीले रिसर्च गर्ने हो। त्यस कारणले यो अन र विथ भन्ने कुरामा तपाईँलाई क्लियर हुनुपर्छ। र अहिले हाम्रोले गर्ने र तपाईँले गर्ने रिसर्च भनेको अन होइन, विथ इन्डिजिनियस कम्युनिटिज हो। त्यस कारणले त्यो कुरा तपाईँले अलिकति थाहा पाउनु पर्यो। त्यस कारणले अब मैले सबैभन्दा पहिलो कुरा, अब यो धेरै कोड अफ कन्डक्टमा म जाँदिनँ, किनभने कोड अफ कन्डक्ट त जहिले पनि युनिभर्सिटीको एउटा सर्टेन खालको स्ट्यान्डर्ड छँदैछ होइन। के गर्ने, रिसर्च गर्नु जानुभन्दा अगाडि हामीले के गर्ने, सर्टेन खालको फर्म फिलअप गर्ने, उनीहरूसँग चाहिँ मन्जुरी लिने, सहमति लिने, त्यस पछाडि अगाडि बढ्ने भन्ने खालको कुराहरू त छँदैछ, त्यो पहिलादेखि नै चलिरहेको अवस्था पनि हो। तर आज त्योभन्दा पनि अलिकति फरक ढङ्गले इन्डिजिनियस पिपलहरूको कमिटीमा गएर रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि अथवा इन्डिजिनियस तपाईँको प्याराडाइमबाट रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि हाम्रो रिसर्चको एथिक्स के हुनुपर्छ, कस्तो हुनुपर्छ भन्ने खालको कुरामा अलिकति मेरो जोड चाहिँ त्यतातिर हुन्छ। त्यस कारणले अब सबैभन्दा पहिलो कुरा, तपाईँ हामी रिसर्च गर्न जाँदाखेरि कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि धेरै हतार गरेर रिसर्च गर्न जान्छ। हाम्रो पहिलाको प्र्याक्टिस के छ भन्दाखेरि सिधै जाने समुदायमा खासै थाहा पनि हुँदैन, एकैचोटि समुदायमा हामी जान्छौँ। अनि ल हामी यसरी रिसर्च गर्न आएको, ल तपाईँसँग के कुरा सोध्नु छ, ल भन्नु पर्यो भनेर हामी क्वेसन निकालेर सुरु गरिहाल्छौँ। पहिला पहिला सुरुमा म पनि भर्खर भर्खर एमए सकेर रिसर्च गर्न जाँदाखेरि त्यही नै गर्थेँ। डोको बोकेर चाहिँ घाँस काट्न गइरहेको हुन्छ, ल दिदी बस्नुहोस् त, डोको राख्नुहोस् होइन, एकछिन तपाईँसँग मैले तपाईँलाई चाहिँ कुरा सोध्नु छ भन्थ्यो। होइन होइन कहाँ हुन्छ, हामी घाँस काट्न हिँडेको मान्छे, काममा चाहिँ हिँडेको मान्छे, हामीसँग समय छैन। होइन 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 एकछिन त बस्नुहोस् न 5 मिनट, तपाईँसँग धेरै लामो समय लिँदैन भनेर हामी रिसर्च गर्ने हाम्रो चलन थियो। तर वास्तवमा त्यो त्यसरी गर्ने कुरा चाहिँ अब वास्तवमा इथिकल हो कि होइन भन्ने एउटा आज ठुलो प्रश्नको कुरा हो। त्यस कारण अब रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि वास्तवमा त्यसरी रिसर्च गर्ने होइन। हिजोको दिनमा त्यसरी गर्ने चलन थियो, त्यसरी नै गरिन्थ्यो, कसैलाई थाहा पनि नदिकन गरिन्थ्यो। त्यस कारण अब के हो भन्दाखेरि रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि अलिकति त्यो तरिकाले गर्ने होइन। किनभने हामीले म तपाईँलाई हाम्रो सिप्रेडको रिसर्चको एक्सपिरियन्स पनि सेयर गर्छु। जस्तो हामीले रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ के गर्छौँ भन्दाखेरि पहिला जुन समुदायमा गएर हामीले रिसर्च गर्ने हो, पहिला त उनीहरूको समुदायको मेन तपाईँको तपाईँको लिडरहरूसँग, उनीहरूको समुदायको जस्तै उनीहरूको आफ्नो जातीय संस्थाहरू छ भने जातीय संस्थाको पदाधिकारी, त्यहाँको नलेज होल्डरहरू छ भने त्यो नलेज होल्डरहरू सबैजनालाई के गर्छौँ भन्दाखेरि त्यहाँको महिला हुनसक्छ, युथ हुनसक्छ, सबैजनालाई एक ठाउँमा राखेर हामी पहिला छलफल गर्छौँ र हामीले यसको बारेमा यसरी रिसर्च गर्न गइरहेका छौँ। त्यसमा त्यो रिसर्च गर्नको लागि उपयुक्त छ कि छैन, के छ कसो छ, त्यसमा तपाईँहरूको सहमति रहन्छ कि रहेन, त्यो रिसर्च गर्न नै उपयुक्त हो कि होइन भन्ने तरिकाले हामी उहाँहरूलाई सोध्छौँ। त्यो सोधिसकेपछि उहाँहरूले ल ठिक छ यो रिसर्च गर्न राम्रो हो होइन, अनि यसमा गर्दा हुन्छ, हामी त्यसलाई सहयोग गर्छौँ, हाम्रो त्यसमा सहमति रहन्छ भन्ने खालको कुरा गऱ्यो भने त्यस पछाडि बल्ल हामी कहाँ जान्छौँ भन्दाखेरि त्यस पछाडि बल्ल हामी गाउँमा जान्छौँ। अनि गाउँमा गइसकेपछि गाउँलेहरूसँग पनि हामी भेला गर्छौँ, उनीहरूसँग छलफल गर्छौँ, सबै खालका समूहलाई त्यहाँ भेला गर्छौँ। अनि उनीहरूलाई पनि हाम्रो रिसर्चको बारेमा, हाम्रो रिसर्चको अब्जेक्टिभ्स के हो, रिसर्चले भोलि उनीहरूलाई फाइदा के हुन्छ, त्यसले तपाईँको पर्नु सक्ने तपाईँको घाटा के हो, त्यसले पार्न सक्ने असर के हो भन्ने खालको कुरा पनि उहाँलाई हामी इन्फर्म गर्छौँ। यो सबै कुराहरू गरिसके पछाडि चाहिँ अनि बल्ल के गर्छौँ भन्दाखेरि त्यो रिसर्च गर्नका लागि ल तपाईँहरूको यसमा अनुमति छ कि छैन, तपाईँको स्वीकृति छ कि छैन होइन भन्ने खालको कुरा गरिसकेर अनि त्यो समुदायले हामीलाई ठिक छ हुन्छ गर्नुहोस्, ल हामी त्यसमा सहयोग गर्छौँ, हामी पनि तपाईँहरूसँगै काम गर्छौँ भन्ने खालको उहाँहरूले एग्री गरिसके पछाडि हामी बल्ल रिसर्चलाई अगाडि सुरु गर्छौँ। त्यस कारणले मैले भन्नु खोजेको के हो भन्दाखेरि रिसर्च गर्ने बेलामा हतार हतार जाने, एकैचोटि समुदायभित्र तपाईँको पुग्ने, नचिनी गरेर त्यहाँ जाने, रिसर्च गर्ने खालको जुन हाम्रो एउटा प्र्याक्टिस छ पहिलाको, जुन खालको ट्रेन्ड छ, त्यो कुरालाई हामीले चाहिँ त्यसरी रिसर्च गर्नु हुँदैन, त्यो वास्तवमा हाम्रो इथिकल रिसर्चभित्र पर्दैन भन्ने खालको कुरा हो। त्यस कारणले हामी समुदायमा जाँदाखेरि सबैभन्दा महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा भनेको चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ तपाईँको एउटा एकदम रेस्पेक्टफुल खालको रिलेसनसिप बिल्डिङ गर्नको लागि हामीले टाइम चाहिँ हामीले डेडिकेट गर्नै पर्छ। सुरुमा हामीले एकदम राम्रो खालको रिलेसनसिप उनीहरूको बिचमा मेन्टेन गर्नुपर्छ। त्यस कारणले हामी जाने, उनीहरूसँग बस्ने, उनीहरूको समुदायको लिडरसँग बस्ने, नलेज होल्डरसँग बस्ने, सबैसँग बसेर छलफल गरेर राम्रो खालको चाहिँ तपाईँको रिलेसनसिप तपाईँको पहिलो नम्बरमा बिल्डिङ गर्नु पर्यो। र उनीहरूले हामीलाई एउटा एज अ रिसर्चर भनेर आउटसाइडर्सको रूपमा भन्दा पनि एउटा कमिटीको मेम्बरको रूपमा उनीहरूले एक्सेप्ट गराउनु पर्यो। र त्यो तरिकाले हामीले प्रयास गर्नु पर्यो, काम गर्नु पर्यो। त्यसको लागि हामीलाई हतार हतार गएर 2 दिनमा रिसर्च गर्ने, 3 दिनमा जाने, सबै डेटा कलेक्सन गर्ने, फर्केर आउने भन्ने तरिकाले सोच्नु भएन। त्यसमा केही समय तपाईँको टाइम लाग्न सक्छ। त्यस कारणले त्यसमा तपाईँलाई अलिकति टाइम चाहिँ त्यसमा खर्च गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने हो। त्यस कारणले अब मैले अघि भने जस्तै जाने बित्तिकै तपाईँले के गर्नु पर्यो भन्दाखेरि कमिटीमा गएर हतार हतार सोध्ने होइन कि पहिलो नम्बरमा तपाईँले आफ्नो राम्रोसँग परिचय दिने, अनि आफ्नो चाहिँ तपाईँको रिसर्चको अब्जेक्टिभ्सको बारेमा राम्रोसँग उनीहरूलाई तपाईँको परिचय दिने, छलफल गर्ने। अनि त्यो रिसर्चले तपाईँको समुदायलाई के बेनिफिट हुन्छ, तपाईँलाई के बेनिफिट हुन्छ, समुदायलाई के बेनिफिट हुन्छ होइन, त्यसले भोलि तपाईँको चाहिँ नराम्रो असरहरू पनि गर्न सक्ने खालको स्थिति बन्नु सक्छ भने त्यो पनि तपाईँले डिस्कसन गर्ने। अनि त्यो सबै कुराहरू छलफल गरिसके पछाडि बल्ल अगाडि बढ्नुपर्छ। र रिसर्चको क्वेसन्सहरू पहिला धेरै सो रिसर्चहरू टप डाउन अप्रोचबाट जान्थ्यो होइन। धेरैसो रिसर्चरले आफैले क्वेसन सेट गर्ने, अनि एकैचोटि फिल्डमा जाने, डेटा कलेक्सन गर्ने, प्रश्न सोध्ने, अरूलाई जस्ट तपाईँको चाहिँ सोध्ने मात्रै गरिन्थ्यो। त्यो भनेको हाम्रो मोर टप डाउन खालको एप्रोचबाट हामी रिसर्च गर्ने चलन छ। तर अबको रिसर्च भनेको चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि अब त्यसरी मात्रै गर्ने होइन, तपाईँले रिसर्चको क्वेसन्सहरू, रिसर्चको इस्युजहरू जति पनि बनाउने हो, रिसर्चको मेथड्सहरू कम्युनिटीसँग तपाईँले डिस्कसन गर्ने, छलफल गर्ने। तपाईँले बनाउने तपाईँको रिसर्चको सेड्युल तपाईँले आफूले बनाउने होइन, कमिटीसँग बसेर तपाईँको डिसाइड गर्ने, कमिटीलाई डिसाइड गर्न दिने कुन बेलामा त रिसर्च गर्ने, रिसर्चको तपाईँको कुन कुन समयमा हामीले गर्दा ठिक हुन्छ, कुन समय उनीहरूको लागि सबैभन्दा उपयुक्त हुन्छ भनेर टाइमिङको बारेमा पनि उनीहरूको चाहिँ सँग छलफल गर्ने, किनभने उनीहरूको आफ्नै खालको क्यालेन्डरहरू हुन्छ। त्यस कारणले हामीले आफ्नो उद्देश्य भन्दाखेरि पनि उनीहरूलाई असर नगर्ने तरिकाले हामीले रिसर्चको कामहरू गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ। त्यस कारणले त्यो खालको कुरामा हामीले अत्यन्तै जोड दिनुपर्छ, त्यसमा हामीले ध्यान दिनुपर्छ भन्ने खालको कुरा हो। त्यस कारणले मैले अघि पनि भने हाम्रो आफ्नै खालको कल्चर हुन्छ, हाम्रो आफ्नै खालको भ्यालुजहरू हुन्छ। त्यस कारणले हामीले सबैभन्दा मेन कुरो चाहिँ उनीहरूको कल्चरलाई रेस्पेक्ट गर्नुपर्छ। उनीहरूको आफ्नै कल्चर, आइडेन्टिटी, अनि उनीहरूको कमिटीको आफ्नै खालको प्रोटोकल्सहरू हुनसक्छ होइन, उनीहरूको आफ्नै खालको गभर्नेन्स सिस्टमहरू हुन्छ, अनि उनीहरूको आफ्नै खालको ट्याबुजहरू पनि हुन्छ। कुन ठाउँमा चाहिँ कुन ठाउँको वस्तुलाई उनीहरूले सेक्रेट मान्ने, त्यहाँ जानु नहुने, फोहोर गर्नु नहुने होइन। अब यो कुरालाई चाहिँ के गर्नु पर्यो भन्दाखेरि हामीले अत्यन्तै तपाईँको चाहिँ ख्याल गर्नु पर्यो। धेरै जसो रिसर्चरहरूले कमिटीको तपाईँको के छ भने कल्चरलाई रेस्पेक्टै गर्दैन, त्यो कल्चरको बारेमा थाहा नै हुँदैन। त्यस कारणले हामीले कमिटीमा जानुभन्दा अगाडि उनीहरूको कल्चरको बारेमा अत्यन्तै तपाईँको चाहिँ ज्ञान लिनै पर्छ, कल्चरको बारेमा थाहा पाउनुपर्छ। उनीहरूको कल्चर के हो, उनीहरूको बिलिफ सिस्टम के हो, उनीहरूको भ्यालुज के हो, उनीहरूको ट्याबुज के हो, यो खालको कुरालाई हामीले बुझेर त्यो कुरालाई हामीले रेस्पेक्ट गरेर काम गर्नुपर्छ। त्यस कारणले धेरै सो पहिला त्यसमा हामीलाई मतलबै गर्दैन थियो। त्यस कारण त्यो कुरामा हामीले चाहिँ गर्नुपर्छ। अर्को कुरा चाहिँ भनेको के हो भन्दाखेरि अब पहिला हामीले रिसर्च गऱ्यो भनेको वान टाइम हामी जाने होइन, डेटा कलेक्सन गर्ने, फर्किने, आफ्नो तपाईँको चाहिँ रिपोर्ट लेख्नु छ भने रिपोर्ट लेख्ने, थिसिस लेख्नु भने छ भने थिसिस लेख्ने, युनिभर्सिटीमा सब्मिट गर्ने, अनि तपाईँको डिग्री लिनै सक्यो होइन भनेपछि। तर अबको रिसर्च भनेको हामीले त्यो तरिकाले हामीले रिसर्च सोचिरहेको छैनौँ। अबको परिणाम सिफ्ट भनेको के हो भन्दाखेरि रिसर्च भनेको चाहिँ एउटा कम्युनिटीसँग, जुन समुदायसँग हामीले रिसर्च गर्दैछौँ, जसको बारेमा हामीले अध्ययन गर्दैछौँ, तिनीहरूसँग एउटा लङ टर्म खालको तपाईँको इङ्गेजमेन्ट हामीले हुनु पर्यो होइन। त्यो इङ्गेजमेन्ट भनेको रेसिप्रोसिटी पनि उनीहरू सँगसँगै हुनु पर्यो। त्यस कारणले गर्दाखेरि हामीले के छ भने लङ टर्म इङ्गेजमेन्ट उनीहरूसँग कसरी गर्ने, लङ टर्म खालको रिलेसनसिप कसरी बिल्डिङ गर्ने, र त्यो कुरा चाहिँ हाम्रो सबैभन्दा महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा हो। त्यस कारणले सिप्रेडले गरेको क्षेत्रमा हेर्ने हो भने आजभन्दा हामीले 15 वर्ष 10 वर्ष अगाडि जुन कमिटीमा हामीले काम गर्न सुरु गऱ्यौँ, आज उनीहरूसँग हाम्रो एकदम तपाईँको के छ भन्दाखेरि दाजुभाइको सम्बन्ध भइसकेको छ। म अहिले सिप्रेडले काम गरिरहेको ठाउँमा गयो भने हामीलाई नयाँ मान्छे आयो भने उनीहरूले भन्नै भन्दा तपाईँको परिवारको सदस्य नै उहाँ हो, हामी तपाईँको हामी र उहाँकोमा केही फरकै छैन होइन। उहाँले बोलेको हामीले बोलेको कुरा एउटै हो। उहाँले कहिले पनि हामीलाई हानि गर्दैन, हाम्रै फाइदाको लागि चाहिँ तपाईँहरू आउनु भएको छ भने उहाँले ट्रस्ट गर्छ। त्यस कारणले हामीले उनीहरूको ट्रस्ट बिल्डिङ गर्ने कुरा, लङ टर्मको तपाईँको रिलेसनसिप तपाईँको मेन्टेन गर्ने कुरा, जहिले पनि उनीहरूसँग इङ्गेजमेन्ट भइराख्ने कुरा, उनीहरूको दुःख सुखमा हामी जहिले पनि तपाईँको चाहिँ सेयर गर्नुपर्छ होइन, जानुपर्छ। अनि त्यो भयो भने के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि एकले अर्कालाई कुन बेलामा कसरी सहयोग गर्नु सकिन्छ भन्ने खालको कुरा पनि हो। त्यस कारणले गर्दा रिसर्च भनेको जस्ट एकचोटि जाने, अध्ययन गर्ने र आफ्नो बेनिफिटको लागि, फाइदाको लागि मात्रै गर्ने कुरा होइन। र अर्को कुरा भनेको चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि अहिले अर्को डिबेट भनेको के छ भन्दाखेरि बेनिफिट्सको कुरा छ। बेनिफिट चाहिँ कसले पाउने त रिसर्च गरिसके पछाडि। अब हामीले रिसर्च गरिसकेपछि हामीले त फाइदा हुन्छ। तपाईँले मास्टर्स गर्नेले मास्टर्सको डिग्री पाउला, एमआइटी गर्नेले पनि डिग्री पाउला होइन। अनि तपाईँले एउटा आर्टिकल पब्लिस गर्नुभयो भने त्यहाँ पनि तपाईँलाई फाइदा हुन्छ। भोलि मेरो आर्टिकल पब्लिस गरेँ, यहाँ मेरो रिपोर्ट पब्लिस भयो भने तपाईँको त नाम आउँछ, तर समुदायको लागि के फाइदा हुन्छ। त्यस कारणले समुदायको लागि फाइदा हुने काम हामीले गर्नु पऱ्यो। कम्युनिटीको बेनिफिट्स यसमा के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि दोहोरो तपाईँको बेनिफिट्सको कुरा हेर्नु पऱ्यो। तपाईँको आफ्नो मात्रै बेनिफिट, हिजोको दिनमा आफ्नो मात्रै बेनिफिटको लागि काम गर्थे होइन। विदेशी युनिभर्सिटीका प्रोफेसर आउँथे, रिसर्चर आउँथे, रिसर्च गर्थे, उनीहरूले डिग्री लिन्थ्यो, तर पनि उनीहरूको कम्युनिटीको लागि खासै बेनिफिट थिएन। तर आज हामीले गर्ने रिसर्च भनेको कम्युनिटीको बेनिफिटको लागि। त्यसैले सिप्रेडले जति पनि रिसर्च गर्छ त्यो रिसर्च भनेको हामीले के छ भन्दाखेरि मेनली तपाईँको उनीहरूकोमा भएको जुन नलेज सिस्टम छ त्यो नलेजहरू चाहिँ अब रिटर्न फर्ममा छैन। अनि त्यस कारणले आज बिस्तारै लोप हुने अवस्थामा छ। त्यस कारणले त्यो लोप हुन नदिनको लागि पनि हामीले एउटा डकुमेन्टेसन गर्नको लागि पनि हामीले चाहिँ रिसर्च गरिरहेको छ एउटा। दोस्रो कुरा भनेको के हो भने उनीहरूको तपाईँको जुन खालको चाहिँ कस्टमरी गभर्नेन्स सिस्टम, जुन खालको प्र्याक्टिसेसहरू छ, जुन कल्चर छ, त्यसलाई एटलिस्ट तपाईँको के छ भन्दाखेरि पोलिसीले रिकगनाइज गर्नु पऱ्यो, गभर्मेन्टले रिकगनाइज गर्नु पऱ्यो भन्ने हिसाबले हामीले पोलिसी डायलगका लागि, पोलिसी एडभोकेसीको लागि चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि एभिडेन्स बेस्ड पोलिसी एडभोकेसीको लागि हामीले एउटा चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि एभिडेन्स जुटाउने काम हामीले गर्छौँ। त्यस कारणले हाम्रो रिसर्च भनेको, रिसर्चको तपाईँको फाइन्डिङ्स भनेको जस्ट तपाईँको नलेज प्रोडक्सनको लागि मात्रै होइन, आर्टिकल लेख्नलाई मात्रै होइन, डिग्री लिनलाई मात्रै होइन। त्यस कारणले कम्युनिटीलाई भोलि कुनै न कुनै फाइदा होस् भन्ने तरिकाले हामीले गरिरहेको छ। त्यस कारणले सिप्रेडले जहाँ जहाँ रिसर्च गरेको छ त्यो रिसर्च गरिसके पछाडि त्यसले कम्युनिटीलाई कुनै न कुनै लेभलमा उनीहरूलाई फाइदा गरेकै छ। त्यस कारणले यो फाइदा भनेको सबै कुराहरू बेनिफिट भनेको मोनिटरी मात्रै हुन्छ भने चाहिँ कति ठाउँमा मोनिटरी पनि हुनसक्छ, तर कति ठाउँमा तपाईँको के छ भन्दाखेरि नन मोनिटरी कुराहरू धेरै हुन्छ। अघि मैले भने जस्तै उनीहरूको चाहिँ कस्टमरी गभर्नेन्स सिस्टमलाई, उनीहरूको नलेज सिस्टमलाई रिकग्नाइज गर्नु पनि ठुलो कुरा हो। त्यस कारण त्यसलाई कसरी रेकग्निसन गर्नु सकिन्छ, दिनु सकिन्छ भन्ने खालको कुरामा सिप्रेडले चाहिँ तपाईँको काम गर्दै आएको छ। त्यस कारणले तपाईँहरूको रिसर्चले पनि भोलि वान टाइम रिसर्च गर्ने र आफूलाई फाइदा मात्रै होइन भने कि त्यसले लङ टर्ममा कम्युनिटीलाई के फाइदा दिनु सकिन्छ, के फाइदा चाहिँ गर्न सक्छ भन्ने कुरामा पनि तपाईँले अत्यन्तै सिन्सियरली सिरियसली सोचेर तपाईँले काम गर्नुपर्छ र त्यो लाइनबाट जानुपर्छ। त्यस कारण तपाईँको रिसर्चले मात्रै फाइदा अहिले तत्काल नहुनु सक्ला, तर तपाईँले के गर्न सकिन्छ भन्दाखेरि यो रिसर्चबाट तपाईँको फर्दर रिसर्चहरू गर्नका लागि रिसर्चको इस्युजहरू तपाईँले एक्सप्लोर गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ, फर्दर रिसर्च गर्नु सक्नुहुन्छ, अथवा कम्युनिटी डेभलपमेन्टको लागि, उहाँहरूको तपाईँको रिकग्निसनको लागि होइन, तपाईँले फर्दर तपाईँको प्रपोजलहरू डेभलप गरेर कम्युनिटीलाई केही सपोर्ट गर्नु सकिन्छ भने त्यो खालको कुरामा पनि तपाईँले सोचेर उनीहरूलाई सहयोग गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ। त्यस कारणले त्यो खालको कुरामा के गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने खालको कुरामा पनि हामीले अलिकति त्यसमा सोच्नुपर्छ भन्ने हो। अर्को कुरा चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ अहिले अघि हाम्रो श्रीजीले पनि उठाउँदै तपाईँको डेटा सोभरेन्टीको के छ भन्दाखेरि सेल्फ डिटर्मिनेसनको कुरा अत्यन्तै महत्त्वपूर्ण रूपमा अहिले उठिरहेको छ होइन। रिसर्च गर्न दिने नदिने, के कुरामा रिसर्च गर्ने होइन, कहाँ गर्ने भन्ने खालको कुरा चाहिँ अहिले कमिटीलाई नै डिसाइड गर्न दिने, डिसिजन गर्नु दिने भन्ने खालको कुराहरू भएको कारणले सेल्फ डिटर्मिनेसन उनीहरूको इन्डिजिनस पिपलहरूमा राइट टु सेल्फ डिटर्मिनेसन हुन्छ। त्यस कारणले त्यो रिसर्चमा पनि त्यो खालको कुरामा तपाईँले एकदम सिरियसली सोच्नुपर्छ। र डेटाको सोभरेन्टी भनेको वास्तवमा उनीहरूसँग हुन्छ, त्यो उनीहरूको डेटा हो नि त। त्यस कारणले हाम्रो पहिला पहिला के गर्ने चलन थियो भन्दाखेरि हामीले एकचोटि रिसर्च गरेर ल्याएपछि त्यो डेटा चाहिँ हाम्रो अधिकारभित्र हुन्छ भन्थ्यो। रिसर्चको तपाईँको चाहिँ मेन तपाईँको कपिराइट कसमा हुन्छ भने त्यो आर्टिकलको कपिराइट पनि अथर्व हुने, उस्तै पऱ्यो भने पब्लिसरले गर्यो भने पब्लिसरको अथर तपाईँको चाहिँ के हुन्छ कपिराइट हुने, अनि कमिटीको त कुनै चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ अधिकारै छैन। तर रियल रिसर्च तपाईँको इन्फर्मेसन दिने र रियल तपाईँको चाहिँ नलेज कोसँग छ भन्दाखेरि त उनीहरूसँग छ होइन। त्यस कारणले चाहिँ उनीहरूको चाहिँ तपाईँको के छ यो डेटा सोभरेन्टीको कुरा, उनीहरूको अथरसिपको कुरा अहिले ठुलो खालको इस्यु छ। त्यस कारणले यो कुरामा पनि हामीले अत्यन्तै ध्यान दिनुपर्छ। र हिजोको दिनमा हामीले रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि जहिले पनि हामी मात्रै तपाईँको अथर भनेर भन्ने, अनि कमिटीको मान्छे तपाईँलाई डेटा के अरे इन्फर्मेसन कलेक्सन गर्ने बेलामा तपाईँलाई सहयोग गर्छ होइन। कमिटीले पनि तपाईँलाई विभिन्न खालको सूचनाहरू दिएर तपाईँलाई सहयोग गर्छ, तर उनीहरूलाई कहीँ पनि एक्नोलेजमेन्ट हुँदैन। उनीहरू पनि तपाईँको कहीँ पनि तपाईँको के छ भन्दाखेरि को अथरसिप हुँदैन उनीहरूको। त्यस कारणले अहिले पब्लिकेसन गर्दाखेरि पनि चाहे तपाईँले बुक लेख्नुहोस्, चाहे तपाईँले रिसर्चको आर्टिकल पब्लिस गर्नुहोस्, त्यहाँ को अथरसिपको रूपमा, को अथरको रूपमा चाहिँ के हुनु पर्यो भन्दाखेरि जो मान्छे कमिटीको मान्छे चाहिँ उनीहरूलाई पनि राख्नुपर्छ भन्ने छ। त्यस कारण तपाईँले पनि भोलि काम गर्दाखेरि कमिटीको मान्छेलाई पनि को अथरको रूपमा राख्नु सक्नु पर्यो। रिसर्च गर्ने बेलामा पनि तपाईँ एकजना जाने गर्ने होइन कि कमिटीको मान्छेलाई पनि को रिसर्चरको रूपमा हामीले के गर्नु पर्यो भन्दाखेरि उनीहरूले लिनु पर्यो। त्यस कारणले हिजो जस्तो कमिटीको मान्छे भनेको हामीले रेस्पोन्डेन्ट मात्रै भनेर हामीले रेस्पोन्डेन्ट भन्ने शब्द हामीले धेरै प्रयोग गर्छौँ होइन। आज हामीले रेस्पोन्डेन्ट हामीले भन्दैनौँ, उनीहरू भनेको पार्टिसिपेन्ट्स हो होइन। उनीहरू भनेको पार्टिसिपेन्ट्स हो, उनीहरू पनि रिसर्चर हो। त्यस कारणले हामीलाई तपाईँको के छ भन्दाखेरि अब यो जोइन्टली रिसर्च गर्ने, यो कोलाबोरेटिभमा तपाईँको रिसर्च गर्ने, कोलाबोरेसनमा जाने होइन भन्ने खालको कुरा हो। त्यस कारणले गर्दा आजको हाम्रो सिप्रेडको फोकस भने पनि इन्डिजिनस लेड रिसर्च हुनु पर्यो, इन्डिजिनसले नै लिडिङ गर्नु पर्यो, लिडिङ गर्नु पर्यो। अनि त्यसको सँगसँगै के छ भन्दाखेरि कोलाबोरेसनमा तपाईँको काम गर्नु पर्यो, पार्टनरसिपमा तपाईँको काम गर्नु पर्यो भनेर हामीले गरिरहेका छौँ। त्यस कारणले त्यो भनेको चाहिँ के हो भन्दा अहिलेको रिसर्चको तपाईँको हाम्रो इथिक्सभित्र पनि त्यो पर्छ। त्यस कारणले त्यो कुरामा पनि तपाईँले रिसर्च गर्ने बेलामा त्यो कुरामा पनि तपाईँले सिरियसली सोच्नुपर्छ। त्यस कारणले अब यो अब को क्रिएट तपाईँको चाहिँ अब रिसर्चको कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यहाँ हामीले सिप्रेडले के गर्छौँ भन्दाखेरि सबै खालको मान्छे एक ठाउँमा ल्याउँछ। रिसर्च गर्नु जाने बेलामा युथलाई पनि राख्छौँ। अब हिजोको बुढाबुढीहरूलाई लेख्नु पर्यो भने लेख्नु सक्दैन होइन। अब लेख्नलाई को चाहियो भन्दा युथ चाहियो। त्यहाँको कम्युनिटीको युथहरूलाई पनि हामी त्यहाँ इन्भल्भ गराउँछौँ। त्यसपछि एल्डर्सलाई पनि त्यहाँनिर हामी इन्भल्भ गराउँछौँ, वुमेनलाई पनि इन्भल्भ गराउँछौँ। अनि त्यहाँ विभिन्न खालको नलेज होल्डरहरू हुन्छ त्यो होइन। त्यस कारणले तिनीहरूलाई पनि इन्भल्भ गराउँछ र त्यसको एउटा ठुलो एउटा टिम बनाउँछ। त्यो टिम बनाइसके पछाडि चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि एकले अर्कासँग सिक्ने पनि ठुलो खालको मौका पाउँछ होइन। एकले अर्का जस्तै युथहरूले केको बारेमा सोध्नु पर्यो, उनीहरूको कल्चरको बारेमा सोध्नु पर्यो भने एल्डरलाई सोध्छ, त्यहाँको नलेज होल्डरलाई सोध्छ। अनि त्यो सोध्ने क्रममा उसले के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि त्यस धेरै कुराहरू उसले सिक्छ। त्यस कारणले अहिले हाम्रो पछिल्लो समयको एउटा सबैभन्दा ठुलो च्यालेन्जिङ पाटो भनेको इन्डिजिनियस पिपलहरूको जुन खालको नलेजहरू छ, हामीसँगको इन्डिजिनियस नलेजहरू, त्यो नलेजहरू चाहिँ बिस्तारै लोप हुँदै गएको छ। अहिलेको युथहरूले त्यसको बारेमा वास्ता गर्दैन भनिरहेछ। तर यो रिसर्चको क्रममा कमसेकम त्यो नलेजलाई तपाईँको युथहरूमा कसरी ट्रान्सफर गर्नु सकिन्छ भन्ने खालको कुरामा पनि हामीले सिपरेटली फोकस गरेका छ। र यो रिसर्चमा पनि तपाईँले त्यो खालको कुरामा फोकस गर्नुपर्छ। नलेजको ट्रान्सफर पनि सँगसँगै रिसर्चको प्रोसेसको क्रममा हुन सकोस्, उनीहरूको क्यापेसिटी बिल्डिङ पनि हुन सकोस् होइन। अनि तर उनीहरूसँग सँगै तपाईँको जोइन्टली कोलाबोरेटिभली कसरी रिसर्च गर्नु सकिन्छ भन्ने बारेमा पनि तपाईँ हामीले सोच्नु पर्ने हुन्छ। त्यो पनि हाम्रो रिसर्चको एथिक्सभित्र चाहिँ हामीले राखेर जानुपर्छ। अनि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ तपाईँको सबैभन्दा मेन कुरा चाहिँ अब अन्तिममा म आइसकेँ। इन्डिजिनियस तपाईँको जति पनि हाम्रो रिसर्चको पार्टिसिपेन्ट्सहरू हुन्छ, उनीहरूको प्राइभेसीको कुरा, उनीहरूको कन्फिडेन्सियालिटी कुरालाई हामीले अत्यन्तै तपाईँको ख्याल गर्नुपर्छ। कतिपय तपाईँको रिसर्चहरू के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि रिसर्चको कतिपय इन्फर्मेसनहरू तपाईँ हामीले डिस्क्लोज गरिदियो भने त्यसले उनीहरूलाई लङ टर्ममा ठुलो इम्प्याक्टहरू पर्ने चान्सेसहरू, त्यसको रिस्कहरू, त्यसको थ्रेटहरू धेरै हुनसक्छ। त्यस कारणले त्यो उनीहरू इन्फर्मेसनलाई डिस्क्लोज गरेर उनीहरूलाई असर गर्ने खालको कुरा छ भने त्यो कुरालाई हामीले डिस्क्लोज कहिले पनि गरौँ होइन। कसैले के कुरा उसले भन्छ मेरो नाम उल्लेख नगरिदिनुहोस्, नभनिदिनुहोस्, तर कुरा चाहिँ भन्छु भन्यो भने उनीहरूको नाम हामीले कहिले पनि तपाईँको मेन्सन गर्नु भएन, उल्लेख गर्नु भएन। कुनै कुराहरू हामीले लेख्यो भने तपाईँको असर गर्छ भने जस्तै एकचोटि हामीले सिपरेटले तपाईँको चाहिँ लिम्बूको समुदायमा हामीले रिसर्च गरेर आएको थियौँ। उनीहरूको किपट सिस्टम नेपालको गभर्मेन्टले उहिले तपाईँको एबोलिस गरिसक्यो, तर पनि किपटको प्र्याक्टिस स्टिल लिम्बू समुदायमा छ र उनीहरूले किपट नै भन्छ। अनि हामीले रिसर्च गरिसकेपछि त्यो किपट शब्द प्रयोग गर्ने कि नगर्ने भन्ने भइसके पछाडि हामीले किपट भन्ने शब्द प्रयोग गऱ्यौँ र हामीले त्यो रिसर्चको रिपोर्ट आर्टिकल पब्लिस गऱ्यौँ भने सिधै गभर्मेन्टको मान्छे त्यो लिम्बू समुदायमा जाने भयो र त्यो तिमीहरूको किपट भन्ने कहाँबाट रह्यो, जुन कुरा उहिले तपाईँको कानुनी रूपमा एबोलिस गरिसकेका छ भनेर त तपाईँको उल्टो उनीहरूलाई तपाईँ के छ भन्दाखेरि समस्या सिर्जना गर्ने, यो तिमीहरूले राख्नै पाउँदैन, गर्नै पाउँदैन भन्ने खालको कुराहरू गर्ने भइसके पछाडि हामीले त्यो किपट भन्ने शब्द नै हामीले राख्यौँ। कस्टमरीले म्यानेज फरेस्ट भनेर हामीले राख्यौँ। भनेपछि के हो भन्दाखेरि हामीले कहिलेकाहीँ एज अ रिसर्चरले एज इट इज तपाईँको चाहिँ लेख्ने होइन कि त्यसले उनीहरूलाई भोलि ठुलो खालको त्यसले रिस्क ल्याउँछ, त्यसले इम्प्याक्टहरू पार्न सक्छ भने हामीले एकदम सिन्सियरली त्यसमा सोच्नुपर्छ। जस्तो मैले अस्ति भर्खर तपाईँको नेदरल्यान्ड्समा मैले सेयर गरेँ, शेर्पाको बारेमा हाइमन डर्फले के गर्यो भन्दा शेर्पाहरू 450 वर्ष अगाडि नेपाल आयो भनेर लेख्यो। उसले लेखेको किताबको आधारमा सबैले त्यसरी नै रिफर गर्यो। अनि पछि तपाईँको शेर्पा आदिवासी जनजाति हो कि होइन भन्दाखेरि अनि धेरै जसो बाहुनहरूले के भन्यो भन्दाखेरि यहाँको चाहिँ तपाईँको अनि ठुल्ठुला विद्वान भन्नेले पनि शेर्पा आदिवासी जनजाति हुनु सक्दैन। किन सक्दैन भन्दाखेरि उनीहरू त 450 वर्ष अगाडि आएको न हो, हामी त त्योभन्दा अगाडि आइसकेको मान्छे। अनि हामी चाहिँ आदिवासी नहुने ऊ कसरी आदिवासी हुनसक्छ, ठुलो डिबेट भयो। अनि मैले भन्नु खोजेको तर शेर्पा भनेको त 450 वर्ष आएको त होइन, तर कुनै एउटा समुदायमा गएर त्यो कसैले सोद्धाखेरि कहिले आएको यो ठाउँमा भन्दाखेरि 450 वर्ष कसैले भनिदियो। अनि त्यही कुरा उसले किताबमा लेख्यो, अनि आर्टिकलमा लेख्यो। त्यो कुरा के हो भन्दाखेरि प्रचार प्रसार भयो, सबैले साइटेसन गरे, लास्टमा त्यही नै तपाईँको के भन्दा एउटा एभिडेन्स बनाएर यहाँ शेर्पा होइन आदिवासी भनेर ठुलो तपाईँको बहस भयो। त्यसलाई चिर्नका लागि हामीले दोस्रो किताब लेख्नु पर्यो। मैले अर्को किताब लेखेँ सिङ्गो शेर्पालाई राखेर। त्यस कारणले मैले भन्नु खोजेको कुरा चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि हामीले गरेको रिसर्चको कारणले, हाम्रो पब्लिकेसनको कारणले भोलि समुदायलाई असर गर्ने खालको लङ टर्ममा अथवा सर्ट टर्ममा असर गर्ने खालको कुराहरू छ भने हामी एकदम सिन्सियरली त्यसमा चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ सचेत भएर लेख्नुपर्छ र छाप्नु हुँदैन। त्यस कारणले हामीले सिपरेटले जहिले पनि काम गर्दाखेरि हामीले लेखिसकेको कुरा पब्लिस गर्नुभन्दा अगाडि तपाईँ कमिटीमा गएर हामी भ्यालिडेसन गर्छौँ। कमिटीको मान्छेलाई सोध्छौँ यो शब्द राख्न उपयुक्त छ कि छैन, यो आपत्ति छ कि छैन, यो पब्लिस गर्दा तपाईँलाई समस्या हुन्छ कि हुँदैन भनेर, यो राइट छ कि रङ छ भनेर प्रत्येक तपाईँको चाहिँ महत्त्वपूर्ण कुराहरूलाई हामी उहाँहरूसँग छलफल गर्छौँ। अनि उनीहरूले ठिक छ, सबै कुरा राइट छ, केही फरक पर्दैन, गर्नुहोस् भनेपछि बल्ल अनि उनीहरूको कन्सेन्ट लिएर हामी गर्छौँ। त्यस कारणले गर्दाखेरि के हो भन्दाखेरि यो महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा। त्यस कारण अहिले तपाईँको के छ भने यो प्याराडाइम सिफ्टको इथिक्सको कुरा गर्दाखेरि पनि हिजो चाहिँ हामीले युनिभर्सिटीको एउटा सर्टेन खालको फर्म भरेर इन्फर्म कन्सेन्ट लिने मात्रै हामीले गर्थ्यौँ। तर आज त्यो होइन। आज चाहिँ इन्डिजिनियस पिपुलको रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि हामीले एपिकमा हामीले जानै पर्छ भनेको छ। प्री प्रायर इन्फर्म कन्सेन्ट हामीले लिनै पर्छ होइन। त्यो कन्सेन्ट लिने बेलामा त्यो एपिक गर्ने प्रोसेसमा एपिक गर्ने बेलामा सबै खालको कुराको हामीले कन्सेन्ट लिनुपर्छ। र यो एपिक भनेको मोर कलेक्टिभ हो। पहिला पहिला हामीले तपाईँको चाहिँ कमिटीको तपाईँको कन्सेन्ट लिनु जरुरी थिएन। हामीले इन्डिभिजुअलको कन्सेन्ट लिन्थ्यौँ। जो मान्छेसँग इन्फर्मेसन लिने हो अनि त्यो मान्छेलाई ल तपाईँको यसमा सहमति छ कि छैन, छ भने चाहिँ ल फर्ममा सही गरिदिनुहोस् त भने माथि ल उसको नाम लेख्यो, तपाईँले सही गर्नुभयो अनि युनिभर्सिटीमा ल्याएर देखाउनु भयो है मैले त कन्सेन्ट लिएँ हेर्नुहोस् त उसले तपाईँको हुन्छ भनिएको छ। तर अब हाम्रो त्यो खालको कन्सेन्ट होइन कि हाम्रो कन्सेन्ट भनेको इन्डिभिजुअलको लेभलभन्दा पनि कमिटीको लेभलको तपाईँको कन्सेन्ट चाहिन्छ। कमिटीसँग डिस्कसन गर्ने, छलफल गर्ने अनि उनीहरूले कलेक्टिभली तपाईँको के छ भन्दाखेरि यो ठिक छ भनेर कन्सेन्ट दिने खालको कुरा लिने हो। त्यस कारणले त्यो कन्सेन्टमा हामीले जानुपर्छ। कमिटीमा पनि तपाईँको दिन भोलिको दिनमा त्यसरी नै जाने र त्यो एप्पीको कन्सेन्ट लिने बेला सबै खालको कुराको कन्सेन्ट लिने। जस्तो अहिले हामीलाई फोटो खिच्न हुने कि नहुने, भिडियो तपाईँको बनाउन मिल्ने कि नमिल्ने, त्यो आर्टिकल पब्लिस गर्न मिल्ने कि नमिल्ने होइन, त्यो रिसर्चलाई भोलि पब्लिकेसनमा जान मिल्ने कि नमिल्ने भन्ने खालको कुराहरू यावत कुराहरू चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि एकैचोटि उनीहरूसँग छलफल गरेर उनीहरूसँग कन्सेन्ट लिनु सकिन्छ। त्यस कारण त्यो कन्सेन्ट लिइसकेपछि कमिटीले नै तपाईँलाई कन्सेन्ट दिएपछि तपाईँलाई अगाडि बढ्न पनि सजिलो हुन्छ र कमिटीको भोलि ओनरसिप पनि हुन्छ। र त्यसले गर्दाखेरि कुनै खालको तपाईँलाई के छ भने विभिन्न खालको भोलिको दिनमा समस्या पनि सृजना हुँदैन। त्यस कारणले त्यो खालको कुरामा पनि हामीले अत्यन्तै सचेत भएर लाग्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा हो। र अर्को कुरा चाहिँ अब कमिटीमा गइसके पछाडि हाम्रो मान्छेको डिफ्रेन्ट खालको वर्ल्ड भ्युजहरू हुन्छ। हामीले जहिले पनि पोजिटिभिस्ट तरिकाले हेऱ्यो भने त एउटै तरिकाले हेर्न खोज्छौँ। तर हामीले के हो भन्दाखेरि त्यहाँ भएको डिफ्रेन्ट खालको वर्ल्ड भ्युजहरू, डिफ्रेन्ट खालको नलेज सिस्टमहरूलाई हामीले रेस्पेक्ट गर्नै पर्छ होइन। त्यो कुरालाई हामीले रेस्पेक्ट गरेर जानुपर्छ। किनभने हामीले कहिले पनि रिसर्चर भइसके पछाडि यो होइन यो हो भन्ने होइन। रिसर्चर चाहिँ तपाईँको के छ भन्दाखेरि उनीहरूको चाहिँ उनीहरूले के भन्छ भन्ने खालको कुरामा हामीले रेस्पेक्ट गरेर जानुपर्छ। र अर्को कुरा चाहिँ तपाईँको अहिले सबैभन्दा ठुलो कुरा एउटा के छ भन्दाखेरि पावरको इम्ब्यालेन्सको कुरा छ। तपाईँ युनिभर्सिटीमा जानुहुन्छ अनि तपाईँ के भन्नुहुन्छ त हो म त तपाईँको यत्रो तपाईँको पढेको मान्छे फल्ना क्युमा पढ्ने, टियुमा पढ्ने, तपाईँको एमफिल गर्ने, पिएचडी गर्ने अथवा रिसर्च गर्ने, हामी त ठुलो, मैले भनेअनुसार गर्नुपर्छ, तिमीहरू गाउँले भनेको के हो, तिमीहरू त भारी बोक्ने होइन, तपाईँको एउटा चप्पल लाएर हिँडिया छ भन्ने तरिकाले तपाईँ हामीले गर्ने चलनहरू छ। तर त्यसरी गर्ने होइन। यहाँ के छ भन्दाखेरि त्यहाँनिर तपाईँको विभिन्न खालको पावरको एक्टर्सहरू हुन्छ कहिलेकाहीँ समुदायमा, त्यसले इन्फ्लुएन्स गर्छ। जहिले पनि त्यहाँ एलिट्सहरू हुन्छ, ऊ अगाडि आइदिन्छ रिसर्च गर्ने बेला उसको अगाडि कोही पनि बोल्दैन हेर्नुहोस्। त्यस कारणले तपाईँले रिसर्च गर्ने बेलामा त्यो तपाईँको कुनै खालको पावरफुल एक्टर्सहरू छ, एलिट्सहरू छ, त्यसले चाहिँ तपाईँको डोमिनेसनहरू गर्छ। त्यो रिसर्चको क्वेसन सोध्ने बेलामा उसको अगाडि कति कुराहरू मान्छे बोल्नु चाहँदैन होला, आफ्नो कुराहरू भन्नु सक्दैन होला। अनि त्यस्तो मान्छेलाई तपाईँले के गर्नु पर्यो भन्दाखेरि कसरी चाहिँ त्यस्ता खालका मान्छेलाई तपाईँको चाहिँ त्योभन्दा फरक राखेर उनीहरूसँग छलफल गर्नु। जस्तै कुनै महिलाको बारेमा, जस्तै एकछिनलाई मानुस सिङ्गल तपाईँको मदर्सको बारेमा तपाईँलाई रिसर्च गर्नु छ, अथवा तपाईँको एकछिनलाई मानुस कन्फ्लिक्टको कारणले अरू कारणले भिक्टिमाइज भएको कोही महिलाहरू छ अथवा कोही पुरुषहरू छ भने त्यो चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ तपाईँको कन्जर्भेसनको पनि मैले अघि एउटा प्रपोजल देख्दै थिएँ। कन्जर्भेसन एरियामा कुनै हात्तीको आक्रमणको कारणले अरू कारणले गर्दाखेरि कोही मान्छे घाइते भयो, कोही मान्छे मऱ्यो अनि उसको बारेमा सोध्नु छ भने त्यहाँ पार्कको चाहिँ तपाईँको हाकिमलाई पनि सँगै राख्यो भने त्यसले बोल्नै सक्दैन। पार्कको मान्छेले तपाईँको चाहिँ कसरी उनीहरूलाई अन्याय भइरहेछ, कसरी चाहिँ अत्याचार भएको छ भन्यो भने त्यहाँ त्यसो ठुल्ठुलो मान्छे अगाडि सँगै राखेर सोध्यो भने उसले केही पनि बोल्नु सक्छ। त्यस कारण तपाईँले त्यो मान्छेलाई नराखिकन कसरी प्रश्न सोध्नु, यो खालको कुरामा पनि तपाईँले अत्यन्तै ध्यान दिनुपर्छ। र तपाईँ के छ भन्दाखेरि बाहिरबाट जाने चाहिँ गर्ने होइन। त्यस कारणले कहिलेकाहीँ त्यहाँनिर उनीहरूको चाहिँ स्थानीय समुदायमा उनीहरूको चाहिँ आफ्नै खालको इन्टरनल पोलिटिक्सहरू हुन्छ। त्यो इन्टरनल पोलिटिक्सको कुरामा इन्टरनल तपाईँको के छ भन्दाखेरि गभर्नेन्स सिस्टममा उनीहरूको प्र्याक्टिसमा कहिले पनि बाहिरको मान्छे, हामी बाहिरको रिसर्चरले इन्टरफेयर गर्नु हुँदैन। कति ठाउँमा मैले देख्छु फ्याट्ट बिचमा बोलिरहेको हुन्छ, रिसर्च गर्न जाने ऊ ठुल्ठुला गफ गर्नु सुरु गर्छ, यो भनेको कहाँ यस्तो, यो भनेको त्यस्तो होइन, तपाईँले भने कहाँ त्यस्तो, यो भनेको यस्तो भन्नु थाल्छ। रिसर्च गर्ने मान्छेले कहिले पनि उनीहरूको इन्टरफेयर गर्नु हुँदैन। इन्टरनल पोलिटिक्सभित्र उनीहरू हामी छिर्नै हुँदैन। त्यस कारण उनीहरूको बिचमा पावर इम्ब्यालेन्स छ भने पनि हामीले त्यसलाई, अथवा कन्फ्लिक्टहरू छ भने त्यसलाई इन्टरफेयर गर्ने कि त्यसलाई कसरी मिनिमाइज गर्नु सकिन्छ भन्ने खालको कुरामा हामीले अत्यन्तै सिरियसली सोच्नुपर्छ। त्यस कारणले हामीले रिसर्च गर्ने बेलामा यो पाटोहरूमा हामीले अलिकति बढी ध्यान दिनुपर्छ भन्ने हो। मैले यति भनेर मलाई लाग्छ अब तपाईँहरूसँग यो कोड अफ कन्डक्ट चाहिँ मोर अलिकति फरक हो। मैले चाहिँ अलिकति कोड अफ कन्डक्ट भन्दा पनि अलिकति मेरो फोकस भनेको चाहिँ रिसर्च एथिक्समा हो, किनभने कोड अफ कन्डक्टको कुरा चाहिँ मात्रै होइन। त्यस कारणले रिसर्च इथिक्स भनेको मोर तपाईँको के हो भन्दाखेरि हाम्रो प्रिन्सिपल के हो, हाम्रो रिसर्चको भ्यालुज के हो भन्ने कुरा। त्यस कारणले अब कोड अफ कन्डक्ट त के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि हामीले सर्टेन खालको एउटा स्ट्यान्डर्ड हुन्छ, त्यो स्ट्यान्डर्डलाई कसरी फलो गर्ने भन्ने मात्रै भयो। त्यस कारणले त्योभन्दा पनि यो इथिक्समा अलिकति तपाईँ हामीले जोड दिनुपर्छ भन्ने हो। मैले यति भनिसकेपछि मलाई लाग्छ तपाईँलाई धेरैलाई यो कुरा थाहा पनि हुनसक्छ र कतिलाई तपाईँको चाहिँ केही नयाँ लाग्नु पनि सक्छ। र यसको डिटेलमा भोलि रियल फिल्डमा त्यसको प्र्याक्टिकलिटिजको बारेमा कुरा गर्दाखेरि अलिकति फेरि हामी कसरी जान्ने भन्ने खालको कुराहरू फर्दर डिटेलमा कुरा गर्न सकिन्छ। तर मैले चाहिँ अलिकति मोर प्रिन्सिपल लेभलको कुराहरू चाहिँ हाम्रो भ्यालुजको लेभलको कुरा के हो भन्ने कुरामा मैले तपाईँसँग सेयर गरेँ। मैले अहिले यति नै भनेर फेरि तपाईँलाई सुनिनु भनेको भएकोमा धन्यवाद र ग्रान्ट पाउनु भएकोमा पनि तपाईँलाई यहाँ सबैजना छानिनु भएकोमा पनि बधाई छ र तपाईँलाई राम्रो गर्नुहोस् भनेर शुभकामना पनि दिन चाहन्छु। र भोलिको दिनमा तपाईँहरूसँग अब एउटा ग्रुपमा म पनि हुन्छु, त्यसलाई त्यो बेलामा हामीले क्लोजली फेरि हामी छलफल गर्ने अनि कसरी अगाडि जाने भन्ने खालको कुरामा पनि त्यो बेलामा छलफल गरौँला। अहिले मैले यतिमै रोकेँ, धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Dr. Pasang Sherpa, for your excellent presentations, especially on the ethics, research ethics, and also and the importance of hearing the main, presenting the community in the forefront rather the domination from the researchers. Really appreciate for your presentation, and just would like to highlight also that indigenous research methodology is not just only we are discussing within the classroom in Kathmandu University, but also is coming up in other universities in Nepal. But beyond that, in different university, like Dr. Kyle's University in University of Michigan, and University of British Columbia, and Chulalongkorn University in Thailand's Baguio University, where they already started their PhD on indigenous study and already started this momentum, no? So globally, this movement is already started, and more important, I'm just back from the IGBES, global workshop, almost for 5 days. That was an intergovernmental panels on the biodiversity and ecosystem, and in there also almost half of our workshop, almost 3 days, we discussed on the in the research methodology, and almost all that sharing the experience from CIPRED, how we do a research and how we consider that indigenous peoples not object of being researched or researched on, but with or along with the community become themselves a researcher, and how CIPRED play a role of facilitator to address the issues and concerns of the community on the ground. So this kind of methodology that CIPRED practice is already the internationally people are very willing to hear. And we are very thankful, grateful that we also been able to share with you all, with among researchers. Some of you are very new to us, but definitely this research has been really helpful. So we have just 5 minutes for Q&A for Dr. Pasang. If anybody have any kind of questions for Dr. Pasang, please raise your hand, and then we'll move to next presentation. Okay, so is there anyone who would like to, I'm sorry, from the continuing on the master's in zoology. Okay, is there anyone who have any questions, tips, questions, queries for Dr. Pasang? Please raise your hand, or you can keep your questions in the chat box. Okay, I don't see any hands or any message, so that means very clear. So I hope you will imply this research methodology, research ethics when you do a research. And now I would like to really thank you, Dr. Pasang, for your presentation and available of your time for us. And you are one of the mentors, so will definitely your insight, your experience will enrich further in guiding our researchers in the future. I don't see any hands, but if you have any kind of key reflections, okay, Sri has a hands. Okay, before I wrap up. Okay, Sri, over to you.
Just to compliment, the most important thing while doing research is like beginner's mind बाट जानु पर्यो. Like even though insider, outsider, for example, some of you might be belonging to the same community. You might have your own perception, like I know everything about this community, but you have to go with the beginner's mindset, meaning to say that you are there to learn. Even though something like you got something different from your perception, you don't jump like this is not wrong. I mean, you have to tell them or you have to verify that with other people. And that's very important. And what are the biases? Like that the perception might create the biasness, no? So you need to avoid those biases. And most importantly, who are you? Where are you from? And who is accountable for this research? No, that's very important message that you need to bring prior to do the research. So I just wanted to add that part so that it will be helpful for you. Like always go to the research area with the beginner's mindset and avoid the biases. Like with your biases, your insider, outsider, there might be some biases. So you have to avoid that biases. That needs to be verified, no? With the people. And most important thing is like community verification is one aspect. Another aspect is to justify that with other findings. That is also a part of the research. Like review the similar kind of findings, and you have to kind of counteract in a sense, like if something is there, why it is there. If something is different from your perception, you have to bring other justifications from other publications or other research findings, which will be helpful for researchers to claim those findings and also to justify whatever you have been mentioning in the findings. So these are just additions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sri, for adding the values. Now I see the Sajan Chaudhary. Over to you, Sajan.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to all of you.
Maybe you can introduce yourself and respond. Yeah.
Okay. Am I audible, ma'am?
You are audible, yeah.
Oh, so first of all, I would like to request the CIPRED team that the recording that we had already, gone through by Professor Kyle, will it be, available for us to revisit the, slides or not? And then another question is the paper which I'm going to write later on. Can I publish the same paper as my thesis for my MPhil degree or not?
Can we have a question directly on the research ethics at the moment? The remaining we can do at the end, or you can do in parallel in the next session. Okay. So if you have any questions on that one, the other questions that we can respond at the end. But now if you have any questions on that. And I'll come back to your questions at the end. Okay. So, but now we are just more focusing on if you have any questions on the research ethics to Dr. Pasang.
Okay. Actually, I don't have about that, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So you don't have questions now, but I have one questions before we move to another one. So, Dr. Pasang, like it says that in the research methodology that generally the research questions is prepared based on what the whole the aspect that also talked earlier. And then also sometime also we share the research questions among the community, whether that research questions meet the aspiration of the community or not. Because generally when you develop the research that in the mind that based on your interests, but that research questions may not catch up the aspirations of the community. In that case, what would be your suggestion that what researchers should do? Should the researchers be ready to change their whole entire questions or adjust their questions? How can we meet that meeting point of the expectation of researchers and the community? So this is my questions. You could answer either Nepali or English, no problem, because we have a parallel translation.
ओके थ्याङ्क यू अब यहाँनिर चाहिँ मेनली के हो भने अब अहिले मैले भनिरहेको रिसर्च चाहिँ इन्डिजिनियस पिपुलको पर्सपेक्टिभबाट रिसर्च गर्दाखेरि हामीले पहिला भनिरहेको कुरा चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि रिसर्चर भनेको जहिले पनि न्युट्रल हुनु पर्यो र रिसर्च भनेको जहिले अब्जेक्टिभ हुनु पर्यो भनेर हामी भन्छौँ। हामीले युनिभर्सिटीमा पढाएको पनि त्यही हो, पढेको पनि त्यही हो। रिसर्च सुड बी न्युट्रल, रिसर्चर सुड बी न्युट्रल एन्ड रिसर्च सुड बी अब्जेक्टिभ भन्छ होइन। तर इन्डिजिनियस तपाईँको पर्सपेक्टिभबाट हेर्दाखेरि रिसर्च तपाईँको कहिले पनि न्युट्रल हुन सक्दैन होइन। तपाईँको के हो भन्दाखेरि अहिले तपाईँको लिन्डा स्मिथकै तपाईँले हेर्नुभयो, तपाईँको डिकोलोनाइजिङ मेथोडोलोजीमा हेर्नुभयो भने रिसर्च भनेको कहिले पनि न्युट्रल हुन सक्दैन, रिसर्चर न्युट्रल बन्नु सक्दैन। किनभने हामीले कसै न कसैको पक्ष लिनुपर्छ। जस्तै हामीले कम्युनिटी बेनिफिटको लागि, कम्युनिटीको वेलबिङको लागि हामीले काम गर्ने, अघि मैले भने हाम्रो रिसर्चको मेन उद्देश्य भनेको कम्युनिटीको वेलबिङको लागि गर्नु पर्यो। कम्युनिटीको तपाईँको के छ भन्दाखेरि तपाईँको जस्टिसको लागि काम गर्नु पर्यो, कम्युनिटीको तपाईँको प्रफिटको लागि काम गर्नु पर्यो भन्ने हो भने के हो भन्दाखेरि हामीले त पक्ष त लिनै पर्ने हुन्छ। त्यस कारणले गर्दाखेरि के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि हामीले जहिले पनि न्युट्रल भन्ने भन्दा पनि कम्युनिटीलाई तपाईँको कसरी चाहिँ उनीहरूलाई के भन्छ फाइदा पुर्याउने, उनीहरूको राइट्सलाई तपाईँको कसरी हामीले के छ भन्दाखेरि राइट्सको पक्षबाट हामीले कसरी काम गर्ने भन्ने तरिकाले हामीले सोच्नुपर्छ। त्यस कारणले हाम्रो मेन काम भनेको चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि उनीहरूसँग चाहिँ रिलेसन तपाईँको कसरी हाम्रो रिलेसनसिप बिल्ड गर्ने, कसरी रेस्पेक्ट गर्ने एकअर्काको बिचमा, त्यो रेसिप्रोसिटी कसरी चाहिँ हामीले बनाउने भन्ने खालको कुरामा हामीले ध्यान दिनु पर्यो, एउटा पाटो। मैले त्यस पछाडि चाहिँ त्यो भइसके पछाडि अहिले पासाङ म्यामले भनेको क्वेसनमा आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ हाम्रो युनिभर्सिटीको पहिलाको ट्रेन्ड के छ भन्दाखेरि हामीले रिसर्चरलाई हामीले जहिले पनि प्रिटेस्ट गर भन्छ होइन। हाम्रो चाहिँ पहिला भनिराखेको ल रिसर्चको क्वेसन बनायो, पहिला टिचरले हेर्छ, इट्स ओके भनेपछि गो टु द कम्युनिटी एन्ड द प्रिटेस्ट द योर क्वेसन्स होइन। अनि प्रिटेस्ट गर्छ, अनि केही चेन्जेस गर्नु छ भने क्वेसन सोध्दै जाने, अनि मिलेन के भयो भने फेरि क्वेसनलाई रिभाइज गर भनेर भन्छ। तर त्यो हाम्रो जेनरल प्र्याक्टिस, युनिभर्सिटीको प्र्याक्टिस होइन। त्यो भनेको के हो भन्दाखेरि फेरि त्यो कोलोनियल तपाईँको लिगेसी कुरा त्यो खालको तपाईँको नै हो। तर अहिले हामीले भनिरहेको चाहिँ रिसर्चको चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि त्यति मात्र त्यसरी होइन। त्यो प्रिटेस्ट गर्ने हामीले सबै माथिबाट बनाएर रिसर्च क्वेसन्स बनाएर टप टु बटमबाट जाने होइन कि तपाईँको रिसर्चको इस्यु तपाईँसँग छ, रिसर्च गर्नु खोजेको तपाईँले केही न केही तपाईँको एक खालको चाहिँ अब के भन्छ गाइडलाइन्स जस्तो तपाईँले बनाएर जान सक्नुहुन्छ। तर कमिटीसँग बसेर त्यस पछाडि कमिटीलाई सेयर गर्नु, कमिटीको सबैजना मान्छेलाई सेयर गरेर कलेक्टिभली सेयर गर्ने, अनि त्यसको चाहिँ डिस्कसन गर्ने। अनि त्यो रिसर्चको क्वेसन चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि बनाएको रिसर्चको क्वेसन चाहिँ उनीहरूको लागि एप्रोप्रिएट भयो कि भएन, कन्टेक्स्ट तपाईँको स्पेसिफिक, किनभने हामी त कतिपय कुराहरू त कन्टेक्चुअल छ नि त होइन। अनि त्यो भएको हुनाले चाहिँ त्यहाँको कन्टेक्स्ट अनुसारको रिसर्च क्वेसन्स भयो कि भएन, उनीहरूको कल्चरल तपाईँको चाहिँ एप्रोप्रिएट हुनु सक्यो कि सकेन, हाम्रो रिसर्चको मेथड्स तपाईँको कल्चरल एप्रोप्रिएट छ कि छैन, हाम्रो रिसर्च क्वेसन्सहरू उनीहरूको कल्चरल एप्रोप्रिएट छ कि छैन होइन। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि उनीहरूलाई भोलि समस्या पर्ने खालको कुरा छ कि छैन भन्ने तपाईँको कारणले गर्दाखेरि उनीहरूसँग बसेर छलफल गरेर अनि बल्ल तपाईँको छलफल गर्नु पर्यो। र छलफल गर्ने बेलामा हामीले कहिलेकाहीँ इङ्ग्लिसमा क्वेसन बनाउँछौँ, कहिले नेपालीमा हामीले क्वेसन बनाएर हामी बोल्छौँ, कति ठाउँमा नेपाली नबुझ्ला, इङ्ग्लिस त झन् बुझ्नै बुझ्दैन। त्यस कारणले हामीले उनीहरूले बुझ्ने भाषामा डिस्कसन गर्नु पर्यो, बुझ्ने भाषामा हामीले छलफल गर्नु। जस्तै कुनै एउटा तामाङ कम्युनिटीमा हामी जाँदैछौँ, तर तामाङ कम्युनिटीलाई तपाईँको नेपाली राम्रोसँग बोल्न आउँदैन, इङ्ग्लिस त आउने कुरै भएन, हामीले त राम्रोसँग आउँदैन भनेपछि त्यो तिनीहरूसँग त आउने कुरै भएन। त्यस कारणले उनीहरूसँग आफ्नै भाषामा कसरी चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ बुझाउने, कसरी छलफल गर्ने भनेर त्यहीँको लोकल तपाईँको रिसर्चर चाहिँ तपाईँको चाहिँ को रिसर्चर हुन्छ उनीहरूसँग बसेर अनि उनीहरू मार्फत तपाईँको उनीहरूलाई सबै कुरा भन्नु लगाएर डिस्कसन गरेर अनि बल्ल फाइनल गर्नुपर्छ। त्यस कारणले गर्दाखेरि यो त्यसो गरिसकेपछि के हुन्छ भने कमिटीले त्यसलाई ओनरसिप लिन्छ, हो हामी पनि यसको रिसर्चको पार्ट हौँ, हामीलाई पनि यो क्वेसन बनाउनेदेखि लिएर रिपोर्ट राइटिङ गर्नेदेखि लिएर इन्फर्मेसन कलेक्सन गर्नेदेखि लिएर सबैमा हाम्रो तपाईँ इङ्गेजमेन्ट छ, हाम्रो त्यहाँनिर तपाईँको चाहिँ हाम्रो पार्टनरसिप छ, हाम्रो कोलाबोरेसन छ। त्यस कारणले यो हाम्रो तपाईँको चाहिँ हो भन्ने खालको फिलिङ उनीहरूलाई हुन्छ। त्यस कारणले त्यो खालको फिलिङ चाहिँ हामीले दिनु सक्नुपर्ने भएको हुनाले त्यसरी जानुपर्छ भन्छु। धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Pasang, for your excellent response and suggestions. I really hope, like all our friends, will be benefited from your presentation and prepare for their field work accordingly. Now I'll go. Yeah. Now we have one more presentation with Miss Priya Gotame. She's a interns with CIPRED and pursuing her PhD in UMich, University of Michigan. I understand under the guidance of Professor Carl, and we really appreciate for your for accepting to share your expertise on AI in research, ethics, and effective uses. No one is free from, ChatGPT or all others kind of Googles like that. But we really would like to hear, based on your expertise, your work on ethical and effective uses, how can we use it, how can we maximum utilize, and how we use it. Based on that, Priya is going to make a presentation, and I'm really sure we all be benefited with her presentation. So you have 20 minutes, Priya. I know we are a little bit over of time, but we'll hope you will 20 minutes will be fine, and then we'll wrap up at the end, and hopefully maybe 10 minutes over the time. Thank you so much. Over to you, Priya. Over to you. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you. I'm Priya. I have a link to the presentation. It's in the chat because there's some links in the presentation that might be useful. And I'll just share my screen here. So hopefully this works. Oh, wait, sorry. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll be talking about using AI in Indigenous research in ethical and effective ways. So the first dynamic that I just want to thread through the rest of my presentation is that, like we've talked about, Indigenous knowledge is a really special kind of knowledge, and historically, it's been impressed in many ways, and it's been represented in the media and in mainstream conversations in problematic ways. And so when we're using AI, the data that AI is drawing from is going to reflect those biases that have historically been oppressive for Indigenous people. And so we want to be really careful that when we allow AI to maybe give us feedback on our writing, we have to understand the perspective that AI is drawing from, which is the perspective that probably you're trying to be writing against. And so there's this caution we have to have. Equally, AI can be really helpful by allowing us to more quickly do our writing and do our research and spend more time in the field, because it makes some parts faster and it can get our ideas out and market it faster and get it a broader audience. And so just really quickly, the way that AI works is that it just predicts words. So most things we're using, like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, these are large language models, and they work by statistically just predicting a likely set of words. And so they're not drawing from things that are true. They're not drawing from all the publications in the world. And I think we've probably heard of AI hallucinations, where sometimes it will write something very confidently that sounds very true, but it's really based in no sources and completely false because it's not trying to work with truth. It's just trying to give you an answer that sounds good. And so that's something we should work with when we use it, maybe to get information. All sources really, really need to be verified. And that's really important as you use AI. And we've talked a little bit
Are you
about.
switching your the slides because I don't see the.
Okay, I'll just
Yeah,
present
now
it.
it's okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe you can go
okay.
to the slide mode.
I thought I was doing that. Hang on. Share. I don't know what's happening. Content only.
Miss Priya, if you could click on the slideshow.
Is that showing now? It pauses my screen when I do that. Share.
Or maybe the network.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, it's okay then. Yeah, I think so.
Here we
Yeah, now working. Very excellent.
Sorry about that. Okay, so data sovereignty. We've talked about this a little bit today. So I don't want to go over it too much, but really just any information that you put into AI gets stored by the chat. And so anything you put there should be something that you would be comfortable publishing. Not only you would be comfortable, but that the people that the data is representing would be comfortable having public. So really anything that will not go in the final publication should never ever go into even a conversation with a chatbot. And I have some links about how to protect some of your data and also some Indigenous policies on data sovereignty that you can look at in your own time. Oh, Okay. And so a lot of us will be working in multiple languages, and AI can be useful for translation. But again, we've talked about like, the importance of the actual words and the actual cultural context, and AI can't carry that, and it doesn't know a lot of, indigenous language or Nepali nuance. And so if you are using it for translation, um, always verify, of course, and check it yourself. But any like cultural words or specific words, you should keep it separately in a glossary, so that you can have AI not translate those words because it will try to fit it into a more dominant, like Western idea or English idea. And then I have like a prompt here that would work better than just saying to translate something because it gives specific ideas of like, keep the individual words what the individual words are and don't try to make it something English. Um, and then, so for academic writing, which I think is what most people will be using AI for if they use it, the biggest thing is use it for grammar. And so instead of saying something like fix my grammar, it's better to ask the chatbot to give you a list of all of your mistakes because when it fixes your grammar, sometimes it might fix it in ways that actually change the meaning. And if you just allow it to fix it, then you maybe copy and paste the suggestion in, it might change the meaning. So here's a prompt that allows you to pull out the corrections and then edit it yourself. And then same for paraphrasing. I gave a similar example, but the key thing here is that you should never be just copy and pasting what it says. Instead, you want to be seeing individually all the changes that it makes so you can make sure that those are changes that you really want to own and that really carry the meaning you're trying to convey. And then here's some useful tools for finding sources. Can you see this? Okay. So this is Notebook LM, and what it does is I talked about how AI just uses information from the internet. This you can put in specific papers, and it will only draw information from those papers. So you can do things like ask about what a paper says. You can select different papers. You can create audio podcasts to have it read to you the paper in maybe different ways, so short, long. Um, and then you can create these mind maps. So it just helps organize information if you're doing a literature review and maybe have a lot of papers you want to sort through. So this can be really useful. And then another thing for literature reviews I have is lit maps, which is similar to Google Scholar, except it helps you visualize it. And so you can take this paper and then it shows you all of the sources that that paper cited. And so maybe you can go and say, oh, if this was helpful for them, maybe it'll be helpful for me. It also shows you some other similar sources. So it's similar to Google Scholar, but just a little bit more advanced. How do I go back to my slide? Oh, sorry. Okay, slideshow. There we go. And again, it's okay to allow AI to help you find sources, but chatbots are going to be giving you the ones that are most popular on the internet, which might not represent actual Indigenous voices or the more like detailed papers from smaller articles or publishers. And so it's more useful to use things like Google Scholar or these sources that I've given. Um, and then lastly, the thing that I really want to take away from this is that when you're using AI, most universities, they want you to cite the usage, but more important than that is that you're doing research on something that is underrepresented in scholarly conversations on the internet. And when you're using AI, it's going to be reflecting those biases that have come from, the world and history. And so when it gives you feedback, you really should be really critical about how you want to use it. And you should think about it as if you're talking to the mainstream ideologies in the world. And so the work that you're doing is special because it's different from those ideas. And so the feedback it gives you, maybe it will resonate. And if it resonates, it's good to use it. But you should value your own knowledge and the knowledge of the people that you're speaking with and working to in these communities over anything AI says. Because the really groundbreaking part of this research is that it is moving a needle, and that it's pushing beyond what is standard and what is been historically represented. And so, just be really confident and really curious and open to saying something different. And that is all. If you have any questions, let me know. I know there's short time, so you can also email me. I'll be available. I'll stop sharing now.
Thank you so much, Priya, for your excellent presentation and enriching our knowledge how to use AI. And we have often we are just use copy paste and please make the grammar right. That means like you are using your own knowledge and putting into the AI and making the property of AI rather than yours, no? This is a really good insights and lit maps and other tools. I think maybe we can, if necessary, we can also explore further how to use it in the future. But really, really, this gives a little bit clear picture that what we need to be aware, no, that especially on the data sovereignty, no, and the uses of AI. That is also opportunity, but also challenges if you don't like a layman like me, sometimes also struggling with all these uses of the AI. Okay, so maybe for 5 minutes, we'll open the floor if there is any questions and like that. Is there any questions or I think today all our friends are very happy what is been presented. I could see right from the beginning of presentations. Is there anything, if you have any queries? Okay, I don't see any hands or any chats, but now I would like to ask Priya that, when you do a literature reviews, literature review, as you have shown this lit map, what would be the, entry point for putting the datas, like which literatures, what you have done, where you could keep it. But when you use this lit map, does it mean that we are also using our whole information in AI, or it will be like it will still keep the data sovereignty for the researchers? So how what is your suggestions on when you do a literatures and then keeping in the lit map or making the synopsis of the whole literatures that use for our research on the ground?
So for lit maps, you're not putting in any data. It's kind of like a search tool to find information. So it's going to pull papers that are already on the internet that AI already has access to. And so that's what's good about that is it's really just like Google Scholar, but it has AI to kind of enhance the searchability and finding more relevant things. Notebook LM, if you upload things, again, I would only upload things that are already public because that probably is saving your data. And so if you have a paper, maybe from that you wrote by yourself, if you put it in there, you will be giving it to data. So if you also have a paper that maybe your friend wrote or a professor wrote that's not public yet, it probably would be wrong to upload things there. So anything you're uploading, you should be careful with. Lit maps, you're not uploading anything. It's just searching.
Okay. So we'll continue learning from you here in CIPRED when you are here in CIPRED with your internship. That you don't just learn from us, but we also learn from you, and it's a mutual symbiosis relationship with our exchange of learning. And really appreciate. Let's give a big applause to Priya for enriching us with the uses of AI. And if necessary in the future, we can also have small groups for our discussions further, no? Okay, so with this one, I'm glad like we have a 5 minutes more, and looks like we can wrap up our on time, and really appreciate for your considering the time constraint. So I'll ask Miss Preeti Gurung for your next step, how you would like to guide, and maybe you can introduce yourself. And I just would like to introduce Preeti is responsible for this coordination for this research work along with Priya. And Priya is with us for another 2 months, I think, not Priya? Yeah, and she will be also helping in this team along with our own work for the publications on this research. So Preeti, over to you. Maybe you can have a short introduction, and then you can go ahead in a few minutes for the next steps, how you will be coordinating among the researchers.
Thank you, ma'am, and namaste to everyone. My name is Preeti Guru, and I work as a program officer at CIPRED. I'm mostly engaged with climate change and Indigenous women-related project studies at CIPRED. And I am, like Pasang ma'am said, I'm coordinating for this research study which we are conducting with all the research scholars. So the next steps would be the Monday training, which we had organized earlier. We will have 1-day session with all our mentors, which is 4 of the mentors, including Dr. Pasang ma'am, Dr. Pasang Dolma Sherpa, Dr. Pasang Sherpa, Dr. Indramani Rai, and Dr. Sri Kumar Mahajan. So we have 14 research scholars, and all the mentors will, based on their field of expertise, they will provide their feedback to all the research scholars. So I will coordinate with mentors and let you know a day. It could either be organized in the coming week, or it may also happen in the next week. So I will coordinate with all the members and let you know through email and through phone call. And after the session with the mentors, mentors will provide you feedback on your individual proposal. So you need to revise your proposal and also make a work plan on when you are visiting your field. So your field visit plan needs to be prepared, as well as you need to prepare checklists. Like Dr. Pasang said, Dr. Pasang Sherpa said earlier that you need to prepare a list of questions. So you need to prepare the question and share with your mentor. So I will be coordinating for the next steps, and we will be in touch via email. And if I missed out on anything, Pasang ma'am, please let me know. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Preeti. That was a very clear and crystal clear message that after coordinations, after considering the time availability of all the mentors, you will be organizing next round of meeting with all the researchers, and also assigning who will be the mentors of whom, like that, and then also all the research grantees from CIPRED, you will be coordinated, you will be contacted by Preeti for your contract in CIPRED. So you will be requesting to visit CIPRED once more, and also visit in persons to contact, and also you can also, is there any kind of assistance needed from CIPRED? Preeti and Priya, double P, will be happy to provide any necessary supports and for your research this one. But during your next mentor workshop with the mentors, that will give a clear picture. So when you'll be doing what and when, and in your contract with the individual contract with the researchers also, will have a lot of questions that are asked by Sajan Chaudhary. So please wait till your contract and all the response that you have, questions you have, it will be also in your agreements with a CIPRED. But I really believe that your research, if you want to pursue your master's or PhD, MPhil or PhD, why not? No, that is what we encourage. But any kind of this once we publish, and if you want to extract anything, you need to get acknowledgement, right? You need to, if you want to use this resource for another publication, or not research as a publication, but partial of the research to be in the other publication, you need to get a written approval from CIPRED. We do not mean that we don't do it, but we may have a suggestion how to do it, right? So that one will be in your contract. Regarding this presentation of Dr. Kal and Dr. Pasang and Priya and all of us today, we'll share with you all. Preeti will coordinate on that part. We'll share, and we'll also share the role of instructors guidelines we have among the mentors, so that they will also follow the guidelines as shared by Professor Kal, and so we'll have our resource accordingly, and that will shape. And as I said earlier, that we are also like you, we are in the national level, but we are also the researcher in the international level. Almost 17 researchers in the international level, from Nepal, from Asia, Africa, Latin America. Almost 17 researchers are doing the exactly same things, following these guidelines. So your work will also contribute in the international work will contribute national. So this is we are learning by doing, and definitely your research with the guidance of the mentor will be helpful to keep the movement on the indigenous-led research and education, because this is not just only here we are talking talking about, not only CIPRED is talking about, but even the IPCC is thinking that a Western lenses of research is not enough, is incomplete, and even the ICBES that I just shared you, I'm just back from 6 days workshop, is working more on the indigenous worldviews, on the research on conservation and biodiversity and ecological connectivity and landscape management, and then the global second assessments report. So that is also underway of how can we reshape with the indigenous worldviews from the local perspective that is going on. So I think now is just on time. And I would like to finally I would like to thank you. I appreciate Preeti and Priya for this whole coordinations, communications, and also Bhavin for calling you all. And really appreciate my colleagues in CIPRED who are working very hard for making the momentum of CIPRED ahead. And I also appreciate our Dr. Indramani Rai and Dr. Sri Kumar Maharjan, Dr. Pasang Sherpa for accepting our request to be our mentors. As always, you are our friend, you are our inspiration, and we really, really appreciate for your time availability for our students, for our youth, for our backbones for keeping this momentum. And I also would like to share that CIPRED has been carrying out the international conference since 2023. We were able to do the first international conference on Indigenous-led Research and educations in Nepal. And we also had a second one, and we are now working on maybe every 3 years. So last time I got the opportunity with exchange our idea with Dr. Sri and other friends who thought like it is we have to keep the momentum. So we are hoping to organize our next third conference in September 2027, where you will be given the opportunity to share your presentation also in the international conference, where we have international guests, professors, scholars around the world. So with this one, let's make this research as a memorable, as a publishable, as a acceptable, and make the world inspired from your research and from your work of art. And I would like to thank also all our students in Kathmandu University, MID students who are here. Some of you are here, and also from Tribhuvan University who have also joining here to learn this momentum, and also CIPRED colleagues for joining for making this work based on your research projects you have been carrying on. So with this one, I would like to thank everyone and have a wonderful day, and further till notice from Preeti. And tomorrow I will be traveling to the community in East Rukum to continue our work in this way. So we'll continue work and keep on inspiring each other. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.